This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Happy Friday and welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Getting ready for Bombers Argos tomorrow night in Toronto. Andrew Paterson, Michael Remis with you. And we'll have lots on the game. We've just got the depth chart. We'll hit that. Ben Grant will pop on the program from 3 Down Nation. Great source for Canadian Football League talk, especially out in the East covering the Toronto Argonauts. So we'll have Ben on. And then Jeff Hamilton. Definitely want to talk to Hammer about his thoughts on the Hockey Canada verdict yesterday, and we'll dive into what he expects to see from the blue and gold versus the double blue as well. NFL training camps are open, and that means a jam-packed edition of the NFL Notebook with Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. And just before we do marbles, I'm going to bring in my good friend Tara Maslowsky from the 1930 crew to let you know how things are shaping up for the big Labor Day trip and how you can get your count yourself in with the crew for one of the last, I believe, 10 spots on the second bus out to Regina for the Labor Day Classic. Welcome to everybody in chat. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. Shout out to all you podcast listeners. And a big thanks to the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet Canada got a nice winner on the Blue Jays last night. We'll hit the Jays as well. Princess Auto, of course, Rollies Transfer, Manitoba Battery, Canadian Club, St. Vital Dental Center, Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, and F Apparel, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, the Winnipeg Gold Eyes, who are back. Christmas in July game tonight. Fireworks. Should be a great night at the ballpark. Breezy Bend, Assiniboia Downs. We'll get to a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray, and fire up some fan feedback for fansfirst.ca. It seems like the chat's pretty lively. People are ready to get after it on a Friday. The weather's looking beautiful today and into the weekend. Let's bring in Michael Remis for a little more sunshine on this great Friday. What's going on, dude? How are you?
I'm in a great mood. Happy Gilmore 2 is out today. I'll be definitely watching that. I'm pretty disappointed that I can't go in a packed theater and watch it with a bunch of people. That sucks, but I'll take a movie over no movie to watch. So that's a bonus as I try.
So what? Oh God, this is a Netflix movie?
Yeah. So Adam Sandler's got an exclusive deal with Netflix. So every time he comes out with a movie, it just goes right to Netflix. So, I mean, I can watch it at home. I don't have to leave the house, but like I would go out and watch it I want to watch it in packed theater. I want to have like cheers when, Ben Stiller as Hal L makes his return to the screen. And I can't do that. I just remember watching.
Speaking of returning to the screen, are you going to join us on the screen at any point today?
I'm having a minor camera issue. I don't know why it's not working, but I'll be on in a second. Hold on.
So, oh yeah, there it is. I just clicked on Netflix. Happy Gilmore 2, ready to go.
Yeah.
There's a lot. I did see Scotty Scheffler at the debut or the premiere, I guess, of it earlier this week, rolling around with the claret jug. I'm not sure whether he was having his cocktails out of it, but he certainly deserved it if he did. But I know my guy Travis Kelce has a cameo in it. And do you know who Happy Gilmore's son is in the movie, Reem?
I do not.
MJF.
Really?
Maxwell Jacob Friedman from AEW. And apparently he's phenomenal in it. The guy has mega charisma. And I'm actually most excited about watching the movie is seeing how MJF does as the in a pretty featured role apparently in this movie.
Well, there's a lot of, it's the second one. You got to bring out all the big guns, all the cameos. So you mentioned Kelsey. I think Rory McIlroy's in there. There's a number of PGA Tour stars in it. So, I know there's CFL. I actually am interested in the Elks Riders game with Fajardo at QB, and Connor Rabchak is in chat saying he's going to the Sea Bears game tonight. They just signed a new player today with some NBA experience. But Happy Gilmore 2. I'm looking forward to this for years. So I'm on it.
What is your prediction? Do you think it's going to be good, or will it be a letdown?
I think it'll be decent. I don't think if I get a couple laughs, I'll be happy. A couple callbacks. I'm not expecting it to be like a masterpiece or anything. I think I'll get a couple laughs and I'll be satisfied with the people they bring back. I don't think it's going to be terrible.
I think it's a very good chance that by the time we return to the airwaves on Monday, we will have a Happy Gilmore 2 review on WST from one Michael Remis. I'm sure you can commit to watching this thing over the weekend. I'll probably watch it over the weekend.
I almost, I finished hockey last night at 11:30. I was like, oh, Happy Gilmore 2 might be out by the time I get home. It was not, so I had to settle for the new South Park, which I enjoyed. So I am getting I am getting my comedy fix. I just didn't get it from Happy Gilmore last night. So I watched that.
The South Park boys announced their return in pretty incredible fashion from what I've seen floating around on my X feed over the last little bit. Did you watch the entire thing?
Of course, yes. It's like 20 minutes. Yeah, I could just bang it off. It was great.
Oh my God! Yeah, we won't go down that road. But the kings of comedy are $1.5 billion richer after the deal that they signed earlier this year, and certainly came out guns blazing with the first episode of. I guess this is a new season that just started. Is that right?
Yeah, new season. So they just did the streaming deal with Paramount and went to rip them very hard, among other people, in that first episode. So, yeah, there's some good comedy fix. I see people in chat noting there's a new Naked Gun. The trailer's out with Liam Neeson taking over the lead role. So I'm actually looking forward to that too. Yeah, you even heard of the new Naked Gun movie coming out?
How? Okay, no, I had no idea that was happening.
I think it's coming out. Yeah, August 1st. Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson.
I'm here for Pam Anderson, that's for sure. Leslie Nielsen was just so iconic as Colonel Frank Drebin. I don't know how. Now, who's taking over for Juice? For OJ? Nordberg.
I think they have callbacks. Okay, there's Nordberg Jr., yeah, Moses Jones, and Liam Neeson is Frank Drebin Jr. I guess they named everyone Jr. I'm just on the IMDb, so... I see Cody Rhodes is in it. Busta Rhymes are on. I can't look at this IMDb. Too many spoilers.
Well, anyways, listen, I know it's a little bit of a quiet time on the sports calendar, so there's a couple of other options for you to check out. But we do have a big weekend in the Canadian Football League, a big game for the Bombers tomorrow. And listen, the Jays keep on rolling. I did watch that game last night in Detroit, and holy smokes, dude, this team is just absolutely red hot. And as great as it was for the Bats to come alive, as they did last night, Big Earn with a 3-run shot, everyone seemed to get in on the offense. It was the pitching performance of Eric Lauer. After that high-leverage series, they used a lot of arms in the bullpen. To have your young starter go in against a top team in the AL and pitch 8 innings of 1-run ball, exactly what the Jays needed going into a series against a very good Tigers team, although they're not playing particularly well right now. And obviously nice when you can put up 11 innings. We even got to see the position player pitching, throwing up 50-mile-an-hour meatballs in the 9th inning. And that's always a good sign if you're on the other end of that.
Yeah, it's really incredible what the Blue Jays are doing. They keep winning. We talked about it yesterday with Jake. They don't strike out. They strike out less than any other team, and their pitching has been excellent. Also, not giving up free passes. 7 strikeouts combined and 0 walks. So 11 runs on the Tigers to remain first in the AL East. Pretty incredible stuff, and that was yesterday afternoon. And they'll be back in action today, 6 o'clock. Berrios on the mound for the Jays, and Montero, and man, Berrios, 3.87 ERA. He's been solid. So this is, again, every series is a big series as you want to take that first place but you're going up against the team that's first in the Central. So exciting stuff here and opening a lot of eyes, viewership high, attendance, through the charts, breaking the record for Looney Dogs eaten. You were right, it was like 84,000 or something like that.
They hit the 2 HDP or HDBPF analytic number, that milestone of more than 2 hot dogs and buns per fan.
Yes. So the Blue Jays are rolling here. And it's on Sportsnet tonight, not a Friday night Apple game like you've had in the past.
Hey, before we get to the Week 8 injury report and the roster for tomorrow's Bomber game and bring in Ben Grant, Week 8 in the Canadian Football League kicked off last night. Bit of an upset. The Montreal Alouettes, without Davis Alexander, led by MBT, go into Calgary, and on the back of a 58-yard Sergio Castillo-esque bomb from the Montreal kicker, win a tight one late. And, of course, the big story, though, coming out of this game, Remo, was how costly of a loss it could be for Calgary. Earlier on in the game, losing Alford, who's had just the most incredible start to his season, what seemed like a quad injury on a pass out to the right flat. And then even worse for Calgary, Vernon Adams leaves the game later on with a suspected concussion. And tell you what, I mean, Calgary has been so good so far this year. I mean, you lose a game, whatever. If they lose those players for any extended period of time, I think all bets are off on the resurgence of the team in Southern Alberta.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly things can change. Last week, we're all Calgary. They're going to the Grey Cup. They're the best team. Look how their odds have changed. Vernon Adams, he's MOP. And next week, what? He gets injured? And Alford, the best ever first overall pick, isn't that what we were saying? He's hurt. Shout out to Eric Brooks had a nice game for them, and Dominic Grimes. But I guess we'll have to take it week by week, and you can't make any sweeping determinations, and would certainly be tough for Vernon Adams and the Stamps if he missed time. But man, they got off to a good start, and then in the second quarter, I don't think he had a completion. It was crazy how they went from, you thought, they're going to blow the doors off Montreal. Couldn't complete a pass. So I don't know what happened against the Bombers that, they looked so out of this world, but it's week 8 now? And I know a lot of the people are sounding the alarms on the Bombers. We were doing the same thing last year. Let's wait till the season plays out. And a lot of it is how are you playing when the playoffs start? And that would certainly be tough. But credit to Montreal, because I thought there was no way they were winning without Davis Alexander in Calgary, the way Calgary was playing. So full credit to Montreal for getting the win yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, a big confidence booster for the Owls to be able to get that win without Alexander and MBT in, because I think that the results have been sort of mid with Bethel Thompson in the place of Alexander earlier on this year. But, after that re-aggravation of the hamstring injury last week, it's probably going to be multiple weeks that they sit on Alexander and let MBT play, waiting for their number one guy to get back. We do have an interesting game tonight. Speaking of, it's all about how much you play, how you're playing going into the playoffs. First, you got to be in the mix and not play yourself out of the playoff picture in the first half of the season. And the Edmonton Elks are feeling like they're on the verge of doing exactly that, Remo, and that is why we are going to see, for the first time since he left Regina, Cody Fajardo back in Sask and starting for the opponents.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how does this Edmonton offense look without Cody Fajardo. Edmonton scored the least points among any team in the CFL to this point. They have played only 5 games. That may be a factor, there. But 1-4 record, certainly not getting it done. And their defense hasn't been very good either. It seems like if you're a quarterback going up against Edmonton, like you can guarantee yourself a 300-yard game. They really need to turn around. We said coming to this year, which team has the most pressure? And Edmonton, I think, had a lot to have a good season. It's been so miserable. The fans are getting frustrated. They're not showing up. You need to have, they weren't 20 games in a row without a win at home. Like, why would you even bother going? I don't blame them at all. So they've switched the coaching staff. They've had a year to get ready, and now they're going to Cody Fajardo. at quarterback. He was very good last year with Montreal until he got hurt and Davis Alexander took over. But Saskatchewan, they've been pretty strong this year at 5-1. So a tough test in Saskatchewan. I'm hearing that I heard earlier this week that it was on the way to a sellout. They're trying really hard to pack new Mosaic Stadium. So I'm excited for this one. I think Edmonton's going to put up a fight, but I've said that a couple times this year, and they've laid a number of eggs, especially on defense, where you've seen Nathan Rourke tear him up. We saw Zach Collaros have his best game in a long time against them. So it's going to be a good one. I am looking forward to this 8 o'clock Central start.
I was just about to say, you're going to be pumped. It's not quite your favorite Pacific zone like BC start time of 9 or 9:30, but
8's good.
8 o'clock, not bad. Get dinner in, do a couple things, and then, you've got a nice game to take you well into the 11 o'clock hour.
Yeah, I'll take it. 8 o'clock I think is good. I like when the games end. 11's a good time around the end. You can go to bed not too late, and I don't have to wait too long, have dinner, get cleaned up. Okay, let's get this game started. Get my popcorn ready, whatever beverages I'm having, get in position. There's no more really 9 o'clock Saturday BC games. We have Hamilton at BC on Sunday at 6 Central, and tomorrow is the Bombers in Toronto at 6. So Saskatchewan, they're looking to extend their lead in the West with Calgary losing, and would put the Bombers a bit behind. Now the Bombers have had 2 byes, so they really haven't played as many games like this schedule. We can talk about it a lot, but I guess a big one for Saskatchewan to put some distance between them and Calgary and the Bombers.
Let's check out the injury report for the Bombers heading into tomorrow's game. Zach Collaros, of course, was a full participant in practice all week and is scheduled to start for the Bombers. Trey Vival was a full participant in practice, dealing with a bit of a neck injury. We do expect him to be returning kicks. But bad news on the offensive line. You're already without Eric Lofton, and now the workhorse, the pillar of the Bomber offensive line, Stanley Bryant, misses his second consecutive game with an ankle injury. And when you consider the way Zach Collaros got hit and knocked out of the game last week, was really hoping that Stanley Bryant would be that extra layer of protection for the Bombers. But Zach's going to have to be very aware of the Toronto pass rush, and the guys that are out there for Winnipeg are going to have to step up and give Zach a little bit more time so he doesn't have to completely sell out to make big throws down the field.
Yeah, it's having time is so important when you're a quarterback. You saw, I see people in chat commenting that VA didn't have a lot of time yesterday and had so much time against the Bombers. So protecting the quarterback, getting to the quarterback, important. And yeah, we don't want to see Zach take any more of those big hits, as he did leave the game, but he practiced. Seemed like it was just precautionary, and he should be okay, but you hope Stanley Bryant can come back more quickly. One player who is moved to the starting lineup has rookie Canadian DB Ethan Ball. That is the son of former Riders play-by-play voice Michael Ball. Ballsy, the real Ballsy. So shout out to Ethan Ball on getting the start here for the Bombers. And the real Ballsy tweeting out good luck.
He's going to be fired up. He's going to be fired up.
He's going to be, he's fired up. So shout out to the Ball family on that one.
So listen, and hey, just you mentioned, and people in chat were talking about the Bombers not getting to VA. Listen, I thought it was a no-show maybe is a bit strong of a word, but let's face it, Willie Jefferson, not a factor at all last week. James Vaughters had his moments earlier in the year. He wasn't that. Like, if the Bombers want to win this game tomorrow, Reem, they are going to need to get a much, much better performance from those guys up front to not give Nick Arbuckle the time that Vernon Adams had for all those seemingly easy and routine completions on second down to keep on moving the chains.
Yeah, so important. And, when you look at the last meeting between the Bombers and the Argos, back in November, the Bombers did struggle to move the chains on first down, which set up a number of long second downs that they couldn't convert. So first down going to be huge. I imagine Brady Oliveira is going to be very heavily leaned on in this one without Dalton Schoen, more so than the last time that these two teams met, Huss, which was criticized. So I don't want to call revenge, and Mike O'Shea certainly said whatever happened before has no bearing, but I'm sure the Bombers would like to get a win against the Grey Cup MVP, Nick Arbuckle, who's going to be starting for Toronto.
Oh, they would for sure. I see the Bombers have landed in Toronto right now, and Brady Oliveira just saying that the goal is to go out there tomorrow and start fast. I mean, a great start would be big and establish that run game. Feed Brady. I mean, that was something that we talked about with Milt earlier this week when Stiegel was on with us, Remis, is that the Bombers, they need to give the football to Brady Oliveira more. And, I mean, it just sort of stands out even more so that he wasn't the first option when they had it inside the 10-yard line and Chris Dever threw that pick that ended up being a real TSN turning point last week. I'd love for Jason Hogan to give it to Brady early and often, establish that running game, albeit it will be more challenging without Stanley Bryant in the lineup. To me, that is such a big key to the success of the Bombers, whether they're at home or on the road.
Yeah, you thought when they got, inside the red zone before that interception, okay, first down, a good opportunity to give the ball to Brady and just have him run it up there. And, Strevo rolls out, thinks he has a guy open in the corner, and it gets intercepted. And I don't want to say that was the game, but that was certainly the turning point there. And they did lean on Brady quite a bit. Last game, 15 carries, 68 yards. That's a 4.5 average. But also in the receiving game, 6 targets, 5 catches, third leading receiver with 40 yards. So, and 39 of those yards has after the catch. So, I mean, really, really short dump offs and letting him go. And I think that's a recipe for success for Brady Oliveira and the Bombers.
Well, we'll get into more of this with Hammer, and Ben Grant's going to be joining us coming up. I'm just looking in the chat. Wesley, Triple R, bully ball, exactly. And Dan Jets fan, Brady is a baller and a beast. Let's get him the football. The play, B. Henderson, play action throw to a big guy is the answer, or Brady Oliveira. Hey, we've seen one big man touchdown, the thick six, if you will, earlier this year. Get another one. The bottom line is they need to get a W, and it is not going to be easy. Toronto historically plays the Bombers very, very tight anywhere, but especially at BMO Field. And as I say, Ben Grant, from the Argos broadcast and 3 Down Nation, is going to join us in just a minute. Hey, heading into the weekend, folks, big shout out to our friends at Rollies Transfer. If you've got a move plan, folks, lean on Rollies, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba for over 60 years, family owned and operated. And of course, they've got a great deal on for WSTers, a little special discount on moving services and moving supplies. So make sure when you head over to Rollies and request an estimate to put in the promo code WST, and then simply let them know when and where you're planning on moving, what needs to be moved, and the friendly folks at Rollies will turn it around quickly with a great quote to get you off to your destination with the white glove treatment that they are famous for. For all your moving needs, make it Rollies Transfer. Find out more, request an estimate today over at Rollies.com. I know the gang at St. Patel Dental Center's fired up for the marble race. Dr. Terry and the gang, great supporters of WST and always participants on Friday afternoon. But listen, they're busy throughout the summer. And if you and your family needs dental services, or you're looking for a new spot to go for all your dental needs, make it St. Patel Dental Center. They've been taking care of generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans. Now have a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's with state-of-the-art equipment and a free, convenient parking right behind the building. For all your dental needs, make it St. Patel Dental Center. From cleanups to dental implants, they've got it all. Find out more and make an appointment over at stpateldental.ca. And hey, just before we bring in Ben Grant, I just got a note from our pal James Hart over at Canadian Club. And check this out, Bomber fans. Remo, pull this up if you can. They have just released, as of course Canadian Club, you see it all over the stadium, it is the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They have just launched a custom Bomber-themed Canadian club label, which is on the shelves at Manitoba liquor marts now. So, of course, you get the finest in Canadian whiskey, the iconic Canadian club, and there you have it, the beautiful limited edition Bomber logo with the helmet and views of Princess Auto Stadium, which we expect to be sold out again for the rematch between the Bombers and Argos next Friday. So, pop by your local Manitoba liquor marts, get your hands on those while they last, and don't forget the club pack as well with the CC and Ginger, the Citrus Smash, and the Half and Half. Perfect addition to your weekend lineup. All right, let's get ready for this football game tomorrow and welcome in Argo commentator and 3 Down Nation's own Ben Grant. Ben, what's up? It's great to have you back into the peg. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you? I'm excited to be back here talking football.
Listen, I'm well. I mean, we had a very interesting game last night. Big win for the Alouettes going into Calgary and sort of cooling the Stamps off after they've been such a big story. But very intriguing Grey Cup matchup coming up tomorrow at BMO Field between a Bomber team that I think had a bit of a reality check over this last couple weeks and an Argo team that's still sort of waiting to get it into gear in the absence of Chad Kelly. Well, what's the atmosphere around the Argos right now with a 1-5 record, albeit a couple heartbreaking losses in very close fashion?
It ranges depending if you're talking about the team or the staff or fans. Fans are losing it. Like fans are panicking. It's not great from that standpoint because they look at the record and it's like, well, this is a Grey Cup winning team, winning 2 of the last 3 Grey Cups. Like, how come they look like this? They're just not used to it. In the Ryan Dinwiddie era, this hasn't happened. The team is different. The team is taking it in stride. They know how banged up they've been all season. Like the Chad Kelly injury has been well publicized. Everyone around the league knows about that injury, but there's so many other injuries that have contributed, and a couple directly to losses. The loss to Saskatchewan, which had they had 2 of their best special teams players healthy, probably doesn't go down that way. Hamilton, you might say the same thing. Losing Wynton McManus in a variety of different games at different points. Maybe the Montreal game goes a bit differently. Maybe both Montreal games go a bit differently. So it's been a tough season, but I think the team, the organization understands how close they are and what misfortune they've had in terms of the injury bug. I don't personally remember this team being as banged up in recent history anyway.
We were just going over the Bomber injury report and a couple big hits on the offensive line, in particular Stanley Bryant. Of course, Dalton Schoen is out as well. How are the Argos getting any help? I mean, we know that Chad Kelly won't be starting, so the quarterback situation is going to remain the same. Are the reinforcements coming back for tomorrow at all?
Some, like the special teams reinforcements, Brian Haralamana is going to play. That's not a name most CFL fans are very familiar with, but he's a great special teams leader, and he's the kind of guy that gets everyone aligned. And there have been uncharacteristic special teams blunders. Mickey Donovan's generally so meticulous about that unit, and they just don't make mistakes. And this year, because of all the moving parts, injuries mid-game, where suddenly you've got to fill in like 5 different special team slots, they've had, they got caught with 11 players on the field for the Saskatchewan game-winning touchdown on a kick return. Plays like that just aren't really what this team's about. Harold Laman is a guy that's not going to allow that stuff to happen. So him coming back is good. Wynton McManus, I wasn't sure if he would play this week. He's going to give it a go. But like Winnipeg, like the offensive line, we know how important a positional group that is in football, and they've been struggling. Ryan Hunter playing right tackle, it didn't really look as good as he has in the last couple of seasons, being the best offensive lineman in the league last year. He was off to a rough start, but then he was injured in a car accident actually, and was replaced by Neem Dankwa, a player they were very excited about, and then he went down, and so now they're down to John Boss, the third string right tackle. They're not sure if Sage Dockstader is going to be able to play at left guard, and so Shane Richards, who they just signed as a free agent this week, if Dockstader can't go, I assume Richards is going to be your starting guard. So to come from off the street to starting at left guard, that's the state of the offensive line right now. So there have been some areas of relief from injury, but it's a pretty banged up club.
I remember earlier this year after maybe it was the Sask game, correct me if I'm wrong, but Dinwiddie was like nuclear after the game. I mean, talking about how there will be changes. And listen, I mean, I understand when you're dealing with the loss of your starting quarterback and some others, it's going to be tough. They've found a couple ways to lose games that certainly, I mean, the Montreal game should have been a win. Where is Dinwiddie's patience right now, knowing that they've dealt with some adversity, but it's a result-based business and they need the results?
And your memory is correct. It was after the Saskatchewan game where he blew up, but you can't. And he's a really smart coach. He knows you can't do that every week. You can't just keep going back to that. Mm-hmm. And I think the reality of the situation is that I'm sure there were more moves he'd like to have made, but when you're as banged up as they are, you can't. There aren't other guys to step in, and so it's not like he could go and clean house. That did light a spark under that team. Their performance has been better. I think since then there have been fewer mental mistakes, for example. There's been better tackling, but that hasn't translated into wins. And so, again, I think he's been very understanding, I think, about it for a guy that I'm sure is very frustrated. He hasn't, his demeanor at practice hasn't changed. It's the same. The team is actually practicing very well. You wouldn't know watching them that this is a one-win team. They look like they always have. They look like they did when they were running through that 16-2 season. It's a focused group. It's they're motivated. They're getting after each other in a positive way. So I think you got to give him some credit for keeping this team together through what is undoubtedly Ryan Dinwiddie's toughest season as a head coach.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they're dealing with a lot of it, and this has to be, I mean, going into this home and home with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, I would imagine there's a real sense of urgency to get into the win column. I mean, Ben, we've been talking about it with the start of, Saskatchewan and Calgary. Winnipeg was 3-0. BC's got a bunch of wins. Like, if the Bombers were to sweep this home and home and the Argos go to 1-7, you're all of a sudden in a very precarious predicament when it comes to potentially getting got by the crossover.
Yeah, that's the concern. You don't want to be in a position where you're starting to look west for your playoff position, right? That's never a good feeling when you're watching like not only your own division, but you're having to watch the other division too. So, they don't want to be in that spot. I think they go into this home and home believing they've got to at least split the series. You can't go 1-7, because if you go 1-7, you can basically lose one more game the rest of the way, maybe two. And that's a lot to ask from a team that's only got one win so far. So, the way I see it, I think the pressure is really put on tomorrow's game because it's going to be easier to win at BMO Field than it will at Princess Auto Stadium. I think anyone would agree there. That's not an easy place to win in Winnipeg. So if they get it done tomorrow, then the hope is that they're playing a little bit with house money and they've already at least got the split, and maybe they have a chance to put Winnipeg in a tough position.
The one thing I'll say, and this is coming from the Bomber side of things, like even with the Argos at 1-5, this just feels like a really, really tough game for Winnipeg. I mean, if you look historically, since Dinwiddie has been the coach of the Toronto Argonauts, even when the Bombers have been clearly the class of the Canadian Football League, they have given the Bombers absolute fits in the regular season. And listen, I mean, the Grey Cup matchups speak for themselves. A lot of angry people in the chat just with me even bringing that up right now. Why do you think that regardless of where the teams are in the standings, the Argos have been such a pain for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers?
It's one of those weird things in all sports, and football seems to stand out more because there are fewer games, but certain teams just seem to play well against other teams, just like certain quarterbacks seem to play well against certain teams in certain buildings. Like for whatever reason, DeMonte Coxey owns Montreal. No matter how the team does, he plays a great game there. And I think it's just one of those things for whatever reason, Ryan Dinwiddie and his teams, and they've changed over the years. It's been, whoever the quarterback is, whether it's McLeod Bethel-Thompson or Nick Arbuckle or even Cameron Dukes. Like Chad Kelly, it's going to be an exciting game, and you're going to get the best from Toronto. And so Winnipeg's never really had an easy game in the Ryan Dinwiddie era against. I think maybe the easiest one was the first one. I think that was the second game of the 2020 season, or shortened 2021 season. That's the only time I can think of the Blue Bombers kind of running away with it. Other than that, they've been tight, but they've been great games. So from a fan perspective, This is going to be a fun one tomorrow. It doesn't seem to matter who's playing, who's not playing. Winnipeg, Toronto, you're in for a good game.
Well, I mean, the game opened up at 3, and I've seen it as high as 6 or 6.5, which is just insane. Every single time these teams play, it seems like it comes down to a kick. It's a 1-point game. I think where I think people will be smart to throw their money on for the game. Tell us about the season and Nick Arbuckle so far. I mean, I know the record is what it is. I mean, is he more comfortable right now as the leader of the offense? It does seem like they've been making progress. It just hasn't turned into wins.
He's playing well. Like for a backup quarterback, I think he's done everything you could ask of him and more. It's just there's a tier difference. Like you guys have seen this in Winnipeg too. It's when you don't have your main guy. I think in the CFL this year, I think backup quarterbacks are something like 5-15, and 2 of those wins are against other backup quarterbacks. Another one is last night where I don't think McLeod Bethel-Thompson wins that game if Vernon Adams doesn't get hurt. Like it's so big to have your starting quarterback in. It's the difference between winning and losing football games. And Nick Arbuckle hasn't been the reason for losses. He had a couple of really memorable bad plays in the early goings of the season, but since then he's done everything that's asked of him. He's throwing for 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, that kind of a day. And it's the other areas of the team that have let them down a little bit. They haven't been able to run the football successfully. They've had trouble in pass protection. They've had untimely drops from guys that just don't drop footballs. And then defensively, they've struggled a little bit against the run. And for whatever reason, even when the DBs are in great position, they can't seem to get their hand on the football. It's just been one of those years. And Argo fans they're tired of sighing at the end of a football game and saying, man, we were so close. But it just felt like that with every single loss this season.
You mentioned the VA injury that I think just, as an unbiased fan, you would love to, hopefully it's minor and he's back soon because he and that team have been such a great story this year. Kelly will come back at some point and take over the starting reins, which means Nick Arbuckle won't be playing. The only quarterback right now that's actually the starter that is still the starter and hasn't missed time is Bo Levi Mitchell. And, they started 0-2, and you thought, oh, my God, is this going to be another terrible start? The Deep Six is their season, and they've seemingly turned it around. Are you buying or selling, Ben, the resurgence of the Hamilton Tiger Cats?
They look pretty good. It's hard to say anything else. Like, they're playing good football. When Bo Levi Mitchell came to BMO Field, he played about as perfect a game as you can play. Everything he threw was a touchdown. Kenny Lawler was on fire. That's a great combo to watch. Like, Bo Levi Mitchell to Lawler is just like, it just seems like they can't miss. Like when they're both on, it is something to behold. And so, yeah, I've seen the best of Bo Levi Mitchell and the Hamilton Tiger Cats. The way they played against the Argos, I'm not sure anybody would have beat Hamilton that day. I didn't even think the Argos played that badly, but it was just Hamilton's day. I still have some questions defensively about the Ticats, but it doesn't matter if you're going to put up 38 points, in a football game. You can get away with some defensive misses. But yeah, I think they're kind of quietly, because no one's really talking about the Ticats. Everyone's too stunned with the Stampeders and talking about the Riders and everything else. There are these other storylines. I think it's almost being forgotten about, even in the East, how good the Ticats have looked after week 2.
We had Milt Stiegel on with us earlier this week, and we were talking about a bunch of, topics in and around the Bombers, but then, he brought up, the loss of Schoen, and now that Kenny Lawler is in Hamilton. And he goes, well, Lawler's maybe the one guy more than anybody in the league that doesn't need to be open to get the football and make you pay. And the combination of that with a gunslinger like Bo Levi Mitchell, who will be more than happy to throw it and take his chances, especially with an athlete like that, it really has turned into the most lethal combination, at least early this season right now. And I'll be honest, the way Kenny Lawler's playing and the confidence that Bo has with some wins behind them, I'm not sure that stops anytime soon.
Yeah, I know. I agree. And that's the fun thing about the CFL. It's not usually the 4-4 speed guys that are the big names as receivers. Like Lawler was never blazing fast. DeMonte Coxey is not a speed receiver. Geno Lewis, like all these guys over the years, they're playmakers. They're guys that can go up and get the football. They win every 50-50 ball. They take advantage of that open space. They take advantage of their ability to time their jumps perfectly and know exactly where that sideline is. And Lawler just has those. He has those gifts because when he first came to the CFL, you sort of look at his pro day numbers, and you're like, oh, it might be all right. And then, he turns into one of the most fantastic receivers in modern day CFL.
Hey, Ben, while we're focusing in on the East, you're out there. How hot is the seat of one Bobby Dice right now? They're in the bye week. I thought there might have been a change during the bye week, so they sort of can get to it a little bit more. Obviously, you've got Rick Campbell there, which would be a natural handoff. I mean, this has been a very tough start for Ottawa. Listen, they've had quarterback problems. Drew Brown's been out. They've started 3 different guys. But for a team that started off 8-3-1 last year, they had a rough second half. They got bounced in the playoffs, and now this season has started the way that it is. I mean, how precarious is the situation in the nation's capital for the coaching staff?
Yeah, that seat has to be getting pretty hot because they're not in the same. It's not the same as Edmonton, where it's the first year. You got all these moving parts, and everyone's trying to gel together. Like, this was supposed to be a good year for the Red Blacks. People were talking about the Red Blacks as not just playoff football team, but a Grey Cup contender. And they've looked terrible. The only win they have was in like a 2-degree monsoon in Calgary, where they just, for whatever reason, we're able to run all over the Stampeders. I don't know how. Still, that was such a strange game. But yeah, other than that game, it's been rough going, and they've had injury problems too. They lost Drew Brown, but it hasn't mattered. When he's been there, it's not like they've really looked too much better as a football team. So I'm sure it is getting tense. I know, just seeing it on social media, Red Blacks fans have had enough. They're looking for a change because there's no one. It's not like Toronto's situation either, where at some point there's going to be an MOP walking through the door that's going to maybe turn things around. Like, no one's walking through that door in Ottawa. Like, this is the football team, and so they've got to figure it out in a hurry. And I think the fact that a move wasn't made already probably suggests that there's at least one more game to go. But we'll see. Midseason changes. I'm not a huge fan of the midseason switch, but and with a coaching cap, it's not always easy either. But yeah, there's I think something's got to happen in Ottawa. That's certainly what the fans are feeling.
I mean, the bottom line is, if you're whacking your head coach during the season, your season's probably over. I mean,
Right.
It's very rare that you see a mid-season coaching change result in a complete turnaround. I mean, it's not like the National Hockey League where Craig Berube pops in mid-season and then the team just goes on a heater, because there's so much into preparation, game planning, personnel. It's a lot more difficult to do it. Edmonton has a new coach. He has had results similar to the old coach right now, and it took all of 7 weeks to go to Cody Fajardo, who, by the way, this is surprising, but he's never started a game in Regina since he left as a Rough Rider, and that is the case tonight. Do you think Fajardo can be a big boost to Edmonton, or are they just outmatched against a Saskatchewan team that seems to be in another area code when it comes to talent on the field and production so far?
I think he will make a big difference. And it's not because I don't believe in Trey Ford. I don't believe in the offense he's been running for him. I just don't think it suits Trey Ford at all. I think I would probably have approached that with a very different kind of system. But the system that McSimick's running in Edmonton should really suit Cody Ford quite nicely. And they've got a lot of talent on this team. We know, like, everyone was raving about all the moves Edmonton made in the offseason. How can they bring in $1 million worth of Toronto's defensive line and all the other additions that they made? And yet they haven't looked as good as their roster does on paper. So I do think Fajardo, I think he will blend well with what McSimick's trying to do. I think it's tough when you're going into Saskatchewan. It's going to be kind of an emotional game for Fajardo. You know that too. It's just one of those, sometimes you run into a buzzsaw like that. I actually think the Elks are going to win this game. I know they're pretty heavy underdogs, but I think this is a very tough game to prepare for. You don't have that same level of film as Saskatchewan. You don't know exactly how they're going to approach it. I think there may be some new life in Edmonton. They're coming off a bit of a rest too. I like that staff. It's the same thing we were just talking about, like with Dice too. Like, these are great coaches and really fun, nice human beings that you want to cheer for. You just hope that both Edmonton and Ottawa can see things go the right way a little bit more often.
You mentioned the defensive line from the Grey Cup champs basically moving to Edmonton. I'm not sure there's been a more disappointing unit in the entire Canadian Football League so far this season than them. Like, I think back to that game against BC which might have been the most embarrassing defensive performance we've seen in a long time. Butler had 30 carries in the game for 174 yards, while Nathan and Rourke comfortably went over 300. We'd have to go back a long time, I think, to find a running back that had 30 carries in a CFL game. And they've invested a lot in those guys, and we just haven't seen the results. I would suggest that against a Rider team that's going to feature former Argo AJ Ouellette, if those guys want to make you look like the Swami in The Genius You Are, Ben, with that Elks pick, those guys up front are going to have to be a hell of a lot better than we've seen so far this season.
They will be, and they will have to be. Rather, I don't know if they will be, but they will have to be to to not get embarrassed. I don't know why they haven't played. Like usually, you say, well, okay, they took one guy and he doesn't look as good. Well, maybe it was the pieces around him. It's basically the whole line. This was the best defensive line maybe in the CFL last season, or if you include Brandon Barlow from a couple seasons ago. And yeah, for some reason they just haven't quite gelled, and maybe that's still coming to a bit of familiarity with the linebackers and behind them, who are also good players, by the way. But it just, for whatever reason, it hasn't worked. And it's nothing I've seen on film where I'm like, oh, well, this is why. I'm mystified, and I'm sure the Edmonton staff is to a degree as well, and surely general management, because I know they brought in this group thinking, well, now at least we won't have to worry about the run. But yeah, that hasn't at all been the case. So maybe this is the week they finally gel. Maybe that bye week is what they needed to get going.
Hey, just before we run, I mean, we talked a little bit about the resurgence of the Tiger Cats. Very interesting Sunday nighter, where Hamilton is going out to the West Coast to take on BC, which of course has the 2 losses against Sask, 2 losses against Winnipeg. They sort of haven't done well against the better teams. They feasted on the lower ones. The total for this game is like almost 56, I think, right now. I mean, people are expecting fireworks. Can they keep it going, or do you expect a much better, more professional effort from the British Columbia Lions on a home field and getting back in the win column in this very competitive West?
Well, I don't really know what to make of BC. I think it's going to help them this way. Like, Hamilton's defense isn't as good as some of the units that they've struggled against. I think that might help Rourke and some of those receivers put up some, because we know those guys put up good numbers even when they're not playing well. But it's got to be a whole team performance. And I think there are a lot of Toronto fans that are very nervous about that game because they need a Lions win. Like, either Montreal or Hamilton, one of them had to stay close this week and not start running away further from the Argos. And so there's going to be a lot of Toronto fans watching that one with curiosity and really cheering on the Lions. But yeah, I do like the matchup for BC. But the question is, are they going to be able to stop Bo and Lawler from just continually catching touchdown passes? So it's the over/under. Like, I would not touch the under, no matter what the number is. And I'm hoping for. I'm like, what a fantastic matchup that could be. I hope it's 56-50 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, let both teams go for 30 or 40, and just to be a big fireworks show in the Canadian Football League on the fast track at the Dome in BC to finish it off. Just back to the Bombers before we go. We know it'll be Nick Arbuckle and Zach Caleros tomorrow. What is the latest on Chad Kelly? Is there a possibility that he could return next week? I know Dinwiddie said he hasn't suffered a setback, but it doesn't seem like he's on the verge. What's your sense of Chad Kelly's potential return?
I've had so much trouble with the prognostications here because coming to the season, we were initially told, maybe there's a chance for week 1. And if not, it'll be soon after. And then he wasn't put on the 6th game. So everyone was sort of thinking, well, it's probably game, 2, 3, 4. And then that came and went. And we were told, well, maybe after the bye week. So there'll be game 6 that he'll be back, but he wasn't. And this week there was renewed optimism. Farhan Lalji was reporting earlier this week that Chad Kelly had a CT scan, and if the results were good, that he could play and even start against the Bombers this week. But that didn't happen. Chad Kelly wasn't at practice the last couple of days. He was in Buffalo, where I know he's been doing rehab work, and I assume where his medical team is as well. But I don't know what to make of it. I don't have a guess. Seeing him at practice, when he has been there, like he's throwing the football well. He's moving fairly well. It's more when he walks that you see that there's signs of an injury, but he actually looks really good. So I don't think it's going to, once he gets cleared, I don't think it's going to take him too much time to get up to speed. And that's why I think they didn't put him on the 6th game, was so that he could be out there at practice. So he could be throwing to the guys and still doing indie and still participating and being around the team, so that it wasn't just like throwing him in cold whenever he's ready. But it hasn't helped from a PR standpoint, because every week is Chad Kelly going to play? What's Chad Kelly's status? If they just put him on the 6th game, they wouldn't have to worry about that for 6 weeks. And it would only be now that we start talking about it. But there's a lot of frustration in Toronto because it has been this, like, is it happening this year? Like, is something wrong? And the thing is, I don't think the team's playing games. I think they really just didn't know the timeline. It's a strange injury when you have that sort of tib-fib thing. You can have tissue damage and all sorts of other complications, hardware issues, that sort of thing. So yeah, I think it's just been one of those things where they probably thought this was going to be that he'd be back sooner than he has been, but I don't know. I just keep saying maybe next week, and so that's my answer right now. Maybe next week in Winnipeg, we'll see.
Ben, thanks so much for doing this. Really enjoyed the conversation. Looking forward to the game tomorrow night. Caleros, Arbuckle, Grey Cup rematch. Both teams, I think, really will be playing with a sense of urgency. It should be a good one. Just before we go, love your work and the entire team at 3 Down Nation. Fill people in on what you and the squad have cooking as we dive into the rest of Week 8 over at the site.
Well, most of my stuff right now you'll find on the X's and Argos podcast. And so if you want to look that up, or you can follow me on Twitter at Ben_Grant, or on Blue Sky, Coach Ben Grant. And you can find all my stuff there. And of course, you're always welcome to listen to any Argos broadcast. You can find me doing the color commentary beside Mike Hogan on TSN 1050.
Well, say hi to Hoagie for us. And this will not surprise you, but those of us here in the PEG and everyone in the chat probably hoping that it's not a jubilant booth at the end of tomorrow's game, but it should be a good one. These teams always play tight, and really interested to see what happens in the first of two. And obviously, before the Argos come back here for the Friday game heading into the long weekend. Have a great weekend yourself, Ben, and a great broadcast tomorrow. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks so much. Take care.
There's Ben Grant. Great stuff from Ben. Again, X's and Argos, and give him a follow on X as well with some great stuff from the Canadian Football League, and also a contributor over with their pals over at 3 Down Nation. Ben_Grant if you want the follow. All right, Hammer's going to join us. We'll have Jeff come in just a few minutes, get his thoughts on this matchup tomorrow night. And of course, a week today, heading into the long weekend, Princess Auto Stadium will be the rematch between the Bombers and Argos. Get your tickets now before they are all snapped up. Of course, Princess Auto, proud sponsors of the home of the Bombers, and of course, Winnipeg Sports Talk. Princess Auto, headquartered and founded right here in Winnipeg and now coast to coast, but with 3 Winnipeg locations where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. So get in there, see them in store, or shop online 24/7, 365 for great deals over at Princess Auto. I do want to thank Donnie and the gang at Manitoba Battery, a great longtime supporters of ours. And this is a busy time for Manitoba Battery because, of course, they are getting Winnipeggers and Manitobans the best deals on batteries of all makes, all models, all sizes. The one thing you can guarantee is you're getting the best prices in town, period. Beating the pants off the big box stores, saving as much as $60 a battery. So whether you need something for the camper, the boat, an ATV, head on down to Logan Avenue or Dovercourt Drive and get the best prices and support local as well. They've also got the best customer service in town that you won't be getting at the big box stores. Give them a phone call or order online at manitobabattery.com. Donnie and his great staff will be more than happy to deliver those batteries to you for free anywhere inside the perimeter of Winnipeg with any purchase over $60. And hey, lots of weddings going on right now at this time of the year. Fellas, if you're looking into your closet and realize you need to up your menswear game, do not wait. Head down to F Apparel at 190 Smith Street downtown for the best in customs men's clothing at the best prices in town. Custom suits starting at just $400. Chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, and an incredible selection of menswear accessories. If you are getting married or in a wedding party, talk to the fellas at F about a great discount for the wedding party when you get your suits for the big day. You can also find out more online at F, that's EPHapparel.com, and make an appointment to come in for a fitting as well. All right, let's get Remo back in here for a minute while we wait for the Hammer to join us. Reem, great conversation with Ben. Really enjoy when he comes on the program, and a great view, particularly of the east of the Canadian Football League, with 2 one-win teams right now, albeit in a little different situations. But I don't know about you. I'm expecting this one to be an absolute dogfight tomorrow against the Double Blue.
Yeah, it never comes easy going out east, whether it's Hamilton or Toronto. And yeah, I enjoy Ben. I've been taking in a lot of the other team broadcasts on the SiriusXM Canada Talks channel. They play every game, usually with the home. So I did listen to Montreal last week in their comeback. That was fun. So Ben does a great job. Great having him on. We did have some CFL news come out has that Deshaun Amos got the maximum fine for his spear on Drew Brown. He was penalized for roughing the passer. They counted as a major grade 2 on the play, and Drew Brown did leave the game, and they're not playing this week, so I don't think we have any updates on his status. But that was a big topic with you and our next guest, Jeff Hamilton, on the latest edition of CFL 110.
Yeah, by the way, if you haven't checked out CFL 110 yet, make sure to do that before the rest of these games go this weekend. It is available right now over on the Winnipeg Sports Talk channel and feed. Hey, let's do the why not question of the day for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. And this is a confidence check from you Bomber fans on this game tomorrow night. How are we feeling? Let's get some predictions. Do the Bombers win? I'm not even going to... Sometimes we talk about, can the Bombers cover the spread? Remis, you will not find me on the Bomber laying the points on the Bombers. I'm just hoping that they can get the win. I expect this game to be very, very tight. And listen, I mean, it's a tough spot. And I know that Chad Kelly's not in, and we've seen the line kind of float more towards the Bombers. History tells us that it ain't ever easy for the Bombers at BMO Field, regardless of who's playing quarterback. And this is going to be a big, big test, I think, if they want to snap this 2-game losing streak and get back in the win column.
Yeah, one thing to note is the Argos give up the most rush yards of any team in the CFL. And what is the Bombers' strength? Running the ball. So I think if they hand it off to Brady, should be able to gain some yards and put themselves in a great position to win. But as we've noted, even when the Bombers are playing well, when they go out east, weird stuff happens. So we will wait. We'll wait and see how it goes tomorrow, and I can't wait 6 p.m. Saturday.
All right, we've got. We'll see what's up with the Hammer. Fire him up. I'm sure he'll be in here in just a minute.
Him.
I tell you what, Reem. Let's quickly. We've got some congratulations to give out.
Yes.
Our friends at the Winnipeg Jets and the social media team won the Stanley yesterday at the NHL Business Awards and meetings out in Seattle. I saw Adam Kruger, quote tweeting that along with the team. I will say this: I'm not sure there's been a bigger turnaround in any department like that's happened with the Jets social media over the last few years. To be honest, early on, it was about as vanilla as it comes, and it has turned into an incredible content factory that has been funny, entertaining, insightful, I think, for fans, and they got rewarded for it. Here it is. This award recognizes overall excellence by a club's social media team, including maximizing the team's official social media channels to engage existing fans and capture the attention of new fans with outstanding creativity, consistency, and proven instinct to innovate with the NHL across social media sports. And the Jets get their first Stanley win. Not the Stanley you probably set out to win at the start of the season for an organization, but certainly a nice award nonetheless for a group of people that have really, really done a great job.
They put in so much work, and I was talking with, I think, Cam during the playoffs, who does social for the Jets, just talking about how many more people they brought in for the playoffs. They really elevated their game, and you saw all the great content this year, whether they're asking the guys questions or stuff they did with Eric Comrie. But for me, what's really stood out is this runway series, and they basically put out a movie on, the playoffs that is on their YouTube. I mean,
it's incredible.
Yeah, recorded in 4K. It looks amazing and well done. I wish there was like some type of like box set that I could buy, because with all these subscription services, as physical media is coming back now, but they've done such an incredible job elevating all of their social content. So nice to see them get rewarded with a Stanley at the NHL club business meetings.
You just said physical media is coming back.
Yeah.
Is that sort of what you were thinking when you bought that 1999 WCW coloring book that you tweeted yesterday?
I had to post this. So I go on Facebook Marketplace and just look around, and someone posted this WCW Super Sticker Activity Book. It had never been used. All the stickers are still in there. The coloring pages have never been drawn on. And I was like, I'm printing out like Bluey, like Coco Melon for my kids, Pokemon. I'm like, wouldn't you guys want to color on some like real, like Masters of the Squared Circle, some real wrestlers? And in honor of Hulk Hogan, I scanned and tweeted out a couple coloring pages. They're on my Twitter profile, Remis. You want to print out for your kids or even yourself? Let's be real. This is actually for me, for some, it's therapeutic doing coloring. So I got this one of Hollywood, Hulk Hogan. This is Hulk Hogan and Scott Hall in the ring together, Huss. So if you're looking to, blow off some steam, I think coloring helps that. And these are, yes, for my kids, this WCW activity. It was a steal. It had never been used. I can't believe someone...
How much was it?
It was like $10. I think that's the going rate for like a current coloring book. There's no premium. The guy, most importantly, has for Facebook Marketplace purchases, my first question is, where do you live? Because that determines if I'm going to make the drive. And the guy's like 5 minutes from me. Like, yeah, okay, this is an easy sale. If it's across town for a $10 coloring book, I'm not going to do that.
A little bit of a tough. All right, we'll have some fun at the end of the show. Don't forget marbles. We're going to do a check-in with the 1930 crew. We got Hacksaw coming up as well with the NFL Notebook. But right now, let's welcome in the co-host of CFL 110 and the award-winning journalist from the Winnipeg Free Press, our good friend, the Hammer himself, Jeff Hamilton. What's going on, dude? How are you?
Not too bad, my friend. It's Friday, and that must be why you're so excited and giving me such a warm reception here. Not that you don't always do, but certainly when we hit the end of the week, it's something special about those 2 extra days over the weekend, Tuts, compared to the rest of the days of the week. So it's good to be here on the Friday, TGIF.
How's your mic location today?
Don't worry about it. It's in my hands right now. I got a director in my ear. Mike, please, is going there. I'm just so excited myself, man. I'm so excited myself. I got to be at a distance when I say hello to the people.
Hey, listen, we do want to get into obviously the Bomber Argo game and the latest and all that, but I did want to start off with you. We talked yesterday about the verdict in the Hockey Canada case. And obviously your work in sports, but also in the news side of things. What did you make of what we heard from the judge? Were you surprised at it? And just your takeaways, I guess, from the conclusion of the trial in the fashion that it did.
You want to start with a fastball, eh? Nice. It's just right down the plate. Perfect. Yeah, you know what I think? I'll address the question about being surprised. I'm not surprised by it. I think if you were to read up on the court case, really from the start to the end, as I did, I think you kind of understood where things were headed. There was a lot of things throughout the process, whether it was, a new trial, whether it was a new jury, whether it was, what could be admissible, what wasn't admissible. I think for me, it wasn't so much the verdict that was the surprise. Maybe perhaps some of the backlash, if you will, maybe not backlash, some of the commentary afterwards, like, kind of celebrating, right? Like I see that. I think for me is probably the worst of it all. Like, I mean, I understand. Well, I mean, I understand in the sense that I've seen it, and I see where people are coming from in the sense of, these guys, this is a court, right? This is a court of law. We have a due process. Everyone has a right to due process. Everybody has a right to a fair trial. Everybody, these guys were staring down, serious sentences, prison terms, right? That, would be scary for any individuals and their families and whatnot. So there's obviously a lot of emotion here, but it's just, regardless of the verdict, Huss, I guess I make that point because I just don't see any winners in this, right? I mean, I hate to use the word silver linings because it's not like I was hoping for, these guys to be sent behind bars. I think when you look at the details of the case, you look at what the victim EM went throughout this whole process, and I don't know how you don't, have feelings about her and what she went through and the trauma she experienced. And I guess you can apply the same thing to the players, right? I mean, if you want to be that, I think when you look at that, I think the bigger thing here, and my point of saying silver linings, Huss, is that I think it's created a national conversation around hockey culture, right? I mean, I think when you look at Hockey Canada and certainly the stuff that came out of Graham James before, and then later on was exposed in the whole Hockey Canada scandal about paying, using Hockey Canada fees to pay off victims and essentially to, sweep things under the rug. We're now, center stage here, spotlight on a national conversation around some of this behavior. And the sad part is this behavior has been going on for decades. And to see in 2018 for it to occur, and obviously probably some of that is very much still existing today. My hope is that while nobody will be behind bars for this, and nobody is essentially being held accountable from a legal standpoint, that the message is clear here. If you find yourself in these similar situations, if you, to speak up, to speak out, I think there's a lot to take from this. I think, again, I look at the victim and I feel for her and what she went through. I look at some of the players, those who were involved and some who were indirectly involved, who testified, whose memories seem pretty convenient for the time and place they were at. But at the same time, that is why we have a legal system, and the results are the results. But I hope as we move forward from this, that conversation can continue to occur, so that families, it's not just players, right? It's not just the teenagers coming up in hockey. It's the parents, right? We all know how crazy hockey is, how important it is to a lot of families, and all those things, and how the advantages to the game exist, right? Camaraderie, team, all these trends. A lot of the skills I learned today, personal skills, those things came from being on it, playing on hockey teams, right? So there's a lot of good in it. I just think those bad things, the culture, the views towards women, the invincibility of some of these people, right? I think hockey culture, and it's created by our society, puts people on pedestals and makes them feel invincible. And when those feelings occur, these kind of events can happen. And I think I'm just hoping that while some people will be disappointed with the result, some people will be happy with the result. I'm hoping that everybody can agree that a greater conversation needs to occur here, and that, we need to improve as a society moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it's really well said. And I absolutely think that the aftermath of this, I think, has already been felt that, every level of hockey, and certainly within Hockey Canada. But I mean, my takeaway from this, post, listening to the lawyers, and like everyone's going to try and move on with their lives as best as they can. And we'll see how we'll talk about that in a minute. But to me, I mean, this is as big of a scandal that we've had, I think, in Canadian sports. And listen, I know that eventually, once the sponsors bailed and Parliament got involved, they blew it up. They got a new CEO and all that. I do think that now is a very good time to maybe reevaluate and kind of circle back to whether everything that was demanded has happened, within the national body. And I heard Greg Brady, and to be honest, I don't disagree with this. Like a complete rebrand of Hockey Canada. Because honestly, like those two words, which is our national sport or one of them, and the name of our country, can have such a negative connotation to so many. And I mean, listen, you kind of nailed it. I mean, with the way that things were set up, the way players were handled, coddled, I mean, to have a slush fund to pay off to cover up something like this is just so outrageous that if anything, now that this case is done, presumably that can happen, is more checks and balances and transparency, I would say, with everything that was demanded of Hockey Canada moving forward, because this entire scandal does not happen if they don't act in a manner so egregious when this sort of information came. And that's a big reason why so many people went down with this, and why we're 7 years removed and now just getting clarity on that incident in London.
Yeah, and I mean, again, like even outside of the details of the specific case, if you look at some of the things that came out of Hockey Canada about how these guys knew what was important, right? Like taking videos of consent, like, you know, when they're naming the guy, you know, their fixer, if you will, from Hockey Canada, what he's going to need, right? Like that's a microcosm of the culture that exists at the highest levels of this game. I mean, you look at the arenas,
like the mafia.
Totally. You run, you know, the leagues, the leagues throughout the country are one thing, but when you get to the high level, you talk about rebranding, you talk about new visions, like until the day we stop counting gold medals as our success in this sport and see it more as everybody getting something out of the game, because I think the situation now, and has been for decades, is a lot more people put more into the game than they get out. And when that focus is on the 1% of players, I think your attitudes and your philosophies are skewed. And you look, I mean, the fact of the matter is, Huss, before that overhaul, it was a bunch of the same people in the positions forever, right? It was a bunch of gray hairs who felt they knew better than anybody else and didn't give a shit about sexual abuse and any of the stuff that was occurring. All they cared about was goals and results. That's what they cared about. All that other stuff, you know, much like you see in other systems around the country, that's handled with the criminal justice system. Like it's like no onus in their role in creating, you know, some of these situations. And I think, you know, they certainly went through a reckoning throughout the Hockey Canada scandal. And as you mentioned, changed some people and changed some philosophies. And now it's about holding them accountable to it, right? Making sure that they're doing that. And I think, you know, I think we do need to give them space to improve. It's not, you know, I think hockey's certainly taken a lot of licks over the years and whatnot. And again, rightfully so. But I think in anything, you need to give an opportunity to improve. So I do think better days are ahead, but that doesn't necessarily erase some of the dark moments from the past.
Hey, one more on this. And I said this yesterday, but I'll reset it for you. I think that if this trial was finishing, say, 3 years ago, 2022, even maybe 2023, I don't think any of these guys ever have another sniff of playing professionally in the National Hockey League. I'm not sure if things societally have maybe changed, moving away from where we were. I guess the point is I'm not so sure anymore. Do you think any of these guys get another crack at an NHL career?
See, look, I'm not going to mention any team or specifics, Huss, but that's going to come down to the morals and ethics of the people who run these organizations, right? There's no doubt in my mind there's teams in the NHL, owners in the NHL who are disparaging EM, you know, who think that these players are victims, right? There's a lot in the public. Why wouldn't we think that would be the case for some NHL teams? So the reality is it's going to depend on, first of all, the NHL as a whole, right? We have a bit of an issue brewing here. The NHL has taken that stance that they're going to investigate and they're going to look at some of the details here. And while the verdicts are the verdicts, it doesn't necessarily mean that these players can come back to the NHL. And in fact, they can't right now. And that's obviously led to the NHLPA responding, as unions would when their members are being withheld their opportunities. And they've come and they've now, you know, are arguing it, right? So we'll figure out what the situation is there. But I mean, when you look at precedent here, Huss, like, you know, look at Joel Quenneville, right? He was part of a sexual abuse cover up in Chicago, right? You can argue he did his time. He was out of the game for years, lost the money that he would have had with a great team in Florida. And maybe this is his opportunity for a second chance. You look at Adam Foote, right? Another example that's been brought up, right? His son's involved in this whole thing, and they're announcing him as the new head coach of the Vancouver Canucks, and he doesn't want to touch it, right? He doesn't want to talk about that. And while some can agree with that, I will tell you right now, I disagree with that, because if you're going to stand up and be a public figure and your son's in one of the biggest scandals in hockey while you're becoming a new NHL coach, it's probably something you should address, even if it's just a few words. But that being said, I just, I don't necessarily look at those examples and argue that the system is completely broken. I am a guy who believes in second chances, who believes in opportunities to redeem yourself. If you look at the work I've done, or even my presence on social media, I can be sharp. But even in the Kevin Cheveldayoff situation, despite many people accusing me of it, I actually never called for his job. I think in these kind of situations, people who understand this kind of stuff, people who talk to the experts in child safety, particularly around, things like sexual abuse, sexual violence, for them, it really is an opportunity to learn from this. Because the last thing you want to do, it's not vigilante justice here, or it's not, zero tolerance necessarily when it comes to rehabilitation. These people who have these situations, we want them to learn from them, so then they go back into society and be that, person who can understand what they did wrong, and maybe even help others to prevent them from doing that. So I do think we need to give space for people to improve, but at the same time, I also understand, a lot of these topics are emotionally charged, and bring with them, some pretty direct opinions, which I seem to think is based mostly on your own personal lived experience. And in all that, I do think you are going to have situations where people are going to disagree and people are going to blow off. But I do think, if cooler heads prevail, and I'm not suggesting that I'm the moral compass here for everybody, I'm just saying that I do think that there's, you hope that, in these horrible situations that people, again, regardless of the verdict, can learn and improve moving forward.
Listen, I really appreciate your perspective on that, and I did want to get that to you. Let's sort of transition, if we can, from something quite heavier to back to the toy department and a football game tomorrow night.
Yeah, right on.
Bombers, no Stanley Bryant, once again on the road to Toronto. I'll be honest, Jeff, and I know we talked about this earlier in CFL 110. We've seen this line move now to 5.5. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just that experience of watching the Bombers, even when they've been the class of the league, go in and have a hell of a time playing at BMO against the Argos. Where are you at right now as we go into tomorrow and the challenge ahead of Winnipeg against what will be a desperate Argos team that I do think is much better than their 1-5 record?
Yeah, it's going to be a stiff challenge, as you said, as we talked about on CFL 110. For some reason, BMO Field seems to be a very difficult place for the Bombers to play. And it's not even that they play horribly in the sense that, I think we might have talked off mic, maybe perhaps on mic for that game, but that one where the Bombers just couldn't hold on to the ball, right? They were moving the ball down the field, and then they get down to scoring, and they would just drop it in some instances. Fumble. I think there was 5 or 6 fumbles, couple interceptions. It probably wasn't that many takeaways, but it felt like that. And that was actually the game, I believe, that put them to 0-4. And I remember going into that locker room and them kind of looking completely defeated. Obviously, they turned things around there. Anyways, my point is, it's a tough place to play, and add to the fact, Haas, that this is a team that's in desperation mode already at 1-5, right? You look at the East, didn't get any favors last night with Montreal earning the victory with McLeod Bethel Thompson, right? So they're in a fight for their lives. And I've said this on a number of occasions, whether it be on your show or CFL 110 or just talking to people in the CFL world. I'm a huge fan of Ryan Dinwiddie and his ability to coach and come up with game plans and schemes. We saw that in the Grey Cup last year, obviously, with Chad Kelly being sidelined and Nick Arbuckle coming in and winning MVP of that game. He's the offensive coordinator, right? So not taking away anything from that defense. Obviously, the Argos have a great defense. So this team's going to come motivated. They're going to come ready. They're going to come desperate. So to me, I don't see this one as an easy win for the Bombers. I don't see any game really as an easy win for the Bombers this season. But I do think that they get it done. I just don't think it's going to be easy. I just see tougher times for Toronto. I feel like this is the year, whether it's simply because of Chad Kelly being out this long, or the fact that they had Winton McManus sidelined for a couple games. But this feels like the year where they did a whole massive turnover, as they often do over the winter, and these pieces aren't clicking as well as previous years. But that being said, as I've been before, I've been wrong on these picks. I could see, I would not be surprised if Toronto came in here and put the bricks to them again for those exact reasons we just talked about.
Remis brought up earlier in the show that the Argos have allowed the most yards on the ground. I mean, this has to be a heavy dose of Brady Oliveira right out of the gate, right?
You know what? I'm about to say, I hope so. I mean, why not? Why wouldn't you be running the rock? And it's interesting too that we're questioning how much touches that Brady's been getting, when Jason Hogan, before he became the new OC of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, all we really knew about this guy was how much he respected and cared for Brady Oliveira. And I'm not saying that that they had a fallen out or anything. They're still very well connected and friends. It's ironic that he hasn't gotten the touches maybe that I think Brady feels he deserved much of last season in a year that he won the MOP, right? So I do think that's it. I think it's obvious. I think it would be even more obvious if it was Chris Streveler leading the pack and not Zach Collaros. Of course, he dodged a major bullet with what's now a neck injury and not a concussion. But I do think you got to get him more involved. And we've talked about this before. It's not just getting him involved in the run game, it's getting him involved in the pass game as well. It's not so much about how many rushing yards he has. To me, I think to a lot of people, it's how many touches he gets, right? This is a guy who brings energy, and it seems like the more touches he gets, the better he plays. So yeah, I'm with you. I think a heavy dose of Brady will be important, but you also got to move that ball as an offense, right? You can't open up the run game without opening up the pass game, and vice versa. You can't open up the pass game without establishing the run game. So I do think there's, it will be a stiff challenge. I think the Bombers are also, I wouldn't say they're not serious, clearly not as desperate as the Argos are, but they're not used to losing, multiple games in a row. And, they're going to want to get back into that win column. And certainly it's tough to win on the road, and it's tough to win in BMO. But this isn't one of those Toronto Argos teams that I think maybe you look at and go, outside of where they are and what they, the skill they have, that this is necessarily a team that should go in and beat the Bombers.
What, just before we go, what'd you think of the Thursday nighter last night? Bomb kick, Sergio Castillo-esque, a 58-yarder to win with about a minute left.
I got to give Maltos a ton of credit, because I've been kind of critical of him, not publicly, but more in myself. I feel like they've shielded him in the past. And if you're going to get shielded in the past and you're going to flex your muscles every time you make a field goal, those to me were contradictive things. You nail a 57-yarder in crunch time, I apologize. You have a much bigger leg than I thought you did, and I apologize for the Owls doing you dirty and not giving you those previous situations in the past. That's a Jason Moss thing. I think he, much like Mike O'Shea, although Mike O'Shea has Sergio Castillo, as you mentioned, very much a field position guy, and we all know the vulnerability for teams when they miss field goals and the potential of a return the other way. But I do give him a ton of credit. But it also, to me, has my takeaway from last night's game is much like my rant on CFL 110 earlier this week. You beat this team with McLeod Bethel Thompson, the team that we were talking about in the same show as being a tier of their own, right? And then McLeod Bethel Thompson comes in and gets the victory. And all I'm thinking to myself is, yeah, Jason Moss is dumber than I was even saying earlier this week. And while people, there's stories out now about Davis Alexander saying, oh yeah, I was for sure ready to play. Yeah, of course a player is going to play. But when you're laboring the way he was in the first quarter, all right, I got to move on. But you know what I mean. But the last thing I'll say on this game too, Huss, is, you saw how emotional Vernon Adams was on the sideline after leaving the game with a suspected concussion. He was clearly in protocol in that situation. PJ Walker ain't it, man. He ain't it, right? Anybody who was live betting that game would have watched the first series and would have kind of seen the inevitable coming here. And so in that respect, I think Montreal certainly lucks out, because once Vernon Adams was out, it was here's your opportunities, right? Even even, who was it? Was it Cole Speaker? And who else dropped a pass? I was thinking to myself, man, like after a rough couple first 2 starts from McLeod Bethel-Thompson, if it's his own receivers that are going to let him down the stretch here, that would be a tough pill to swallow. But ultimately, they got it done. Calgary suffers the loss. The Alouettes moved to 4-2, or is it 5-2? Whatever they are. And here we are with Davis Alexander on the sideline, and the Bombers up next.
Yeah, well, listen, 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Of course, we got Fajardo's return as a starter to Regina tonight. Going to be a fun weekend in the Canadian Football League, and expecting some fireworks offensively in that Sunday nighter between BC and the Ticats from the Hammer. Jeff, have a great weekend. Thanks for doing this, and we'll chop it all up on Tuesday for another edition of CFL 110 coming out of Week 8. Have a good one, dude.
Always a pleasure, my friend. Let's can't wait to chop up this weekend of games with you next week.
You bet. All right, there's Jeff Hamilton at Jeff K. Hamilton on X. And again, Tuesday right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk, the next edition of CFL 110. All right, Hacksaw is coming up in just a minute. Going to get to fan feedback brought to you by fansfirst.ca, where you will get your best prices on secondary market tickets with no fees. What you see is what you pay, with no fees on that. Fansfirst.ca. Of course, Bomber games now on Fans First, and that's a good thing considering how many butts they've been putting in the seats lately down at Princess Auto Stadium. Remo, what is happening in the fan feedback is, in fact, a bit of a super chat off right now. I do see all caps Kyle dropping a nice one in. I saw Spency, Dan Jets fan. They're all coming for the crown, apparently.
Yeah, so recently YouTube has introduced a top fans where you get points for chatting, and the number 1 chatter of the day gets a number 1 crown beside their name. There's a number 2 and number 3 crown. And the one some chatters have noticed, the easiest way to get the number 1 crown is with a super chat. So thank you to Spency, who came in with a super chat saying pay to win, gave me the crown. Dan Jets fan came in with a super chat saying crown takeover. And then Kyle came over the top with the super chat of his own. So those guys are 1, 2, 3 as the top fans of the day, according to YouTube. So shout out to everyone who comes out and participates, and shout out to those guys for the super chats. Having some fun here on Beer Friday.
Yes, indeed. Speaking of Beer Friday, Hacksaw's locked and loaded. He'll join us in just a minute. Lots of great feedback in on the reaction to the Hockey Canada verdict yesterday. And I would say some guarded optimism from WST chatters on tomorrow's game between the Bombers and the Argos. I see, Derek Schmidt just sent WST 5 gift memberships. Derek, thanks so much for the support of the channel. All right. Hey, the weekend is here. You're going to get outside. You're going to have a great time. Hey, why not add maybe a little more merch to your crew for the summer with a trip down to Royal Sports. Now, whether you need to hit the Yeti section for camping, or maybe grab some soccer, softball, tennis, running equipment, a new bike, Royal Sports has everything you have to waiting to make sure you get the most out of this beautiful summer weather we're enjoying right now. And while you're at it, you can grab your Bomber gear for next Friday's game at Princess Auto Stadium, or maybe jump on a new Winnipeg Jets jersey with 19 Taves or 13 Gabriel Velarde, or your favorite player right now, all down at your number 1 fan headquarters, Royal Sports, 750 Pembina. And, of course, follow them on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. Great night to head to your local Boston Pizza. Kick it off with the Jays and the Tigers, and then ease into the Riders and Elks tonight. And, of course, always enjoying world-famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, washing it down with a few ice-cold schooners, and check out the new BP summer menu as well. If you are staying at home tonight, you can get the great taste of Boston Pizza by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. And yes, it is Beer Friday. That means it's Hacksaw time. Just as we bring in Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, let's give a big cheers to Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, it's not Friday without a visit from Hacksaw in the NFL Notebook. Lee joins us now. What's going on, boss? How are you heading into this weekend?
Hey, baseball trading deadline is just around the corner. Got news and notes around the NFL. A lot of response here stateside to the London 5 Canada hockey trial. So a lot of topics on the table stateside. I'm sure you're covering some of that too up there.
Yeah, totally. Well, you mentioned baseball right off the bat. What a season the Blue Jays are having right now. I mean, just rolling. They won the 6 of 7 against the Yankees, started things off with the big win in Detroit last night. I can tell you, Lee, north of the border, there's about as much excitement at this point of the season that we've seen for the Blue Jays in like 10 years probably. And with the pressure on the Atkins and Shapiro management team to get this thing moving forward and to get some results, Blue Jays definitely one of the teams to watch heading into the trade deadline next week.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think they're going to make a deal to get a pitcher. They are talking to San Diego about renting veteran right-hander Dylan Cease. I mean, they're playing really well, and they've stayed healthy. I think that's the other thing is Vlad Guerrero's had a good season this year. Bo Bichette has really bounced back. Springer's kind of picked himself off the deck and is starting to hit in Toronto like he used to hit way back in the day in Houston. And they've got real reliable starting pitching, but they're a little bit thin. So it may well be that they're going to make a deal to get another frontline starter, a rental, and this guy in San Diego, Dylan Cease, is now on the trade block. And, we're down here with the Padres, chasing the Dodgers, trying to stay in a pennant race, and both the Dodgers have a desperate need for a reliever, and the Padres have a desperate need for a bat. So I think between now and Thursday, we're going to see 2 significant deals with the teams here in Southern California. And you're talking about the pennant races. It's such a grind of a season. I would have never imagined your Blue Jays would be doing this. And who could have thought the way Detroit was playing for such a chunk of time? They've lost 10 of their last 11. And who would think Milwaukee, with a roster of no names outside of Christian Yelich, would be in first place? I mean, it's just absolutely amazing what's happened in Major League Baseball. The Dodgers have been decimated by injuries, and the Padres are just underachieving in terms of hitting. So we're not done. There's a lot of baseball to be played, but I'll tell you what, between now and Thursday, I bet we're going to see 10 to 15 trades. There have been 3 trades made in the last 12 hours in baseball.
The aftermath of that Yankee series, I mean, there's a lot of Jays fans that are having fun watching the game, and almost as much fun watching the meltdown from Yankee fan on social media. It's a 5-alarm blaze in the Bronx right now, it seems. And not only are they having some issues with timely hitting, the defense is absolutely atrocious. And it seems like Aaron Boone's really feeling some heat right now.
He's standing right in the middle of that fire. Now, they just made a trade about an hour ago. They just got Colorado Rockies third baseman Ryan McMahon because they got a black hole at third base. He made 7 errors, I think, in 3 games this past week. And it's just a firestorm of controversy about Boone just tolerating this and not calling anybody out. Has really been weird. But the Yankees are the Yankees, and they have the resources, and they're going to make a deal. And I think there might be a second deal coming for a starting pitcher. And, of course, crosstown the New York Mets, who are fighting the Yankees to see who can be the big story on the back page of the tabloids. The Mets are going to make a deal to get a pitcher, too. So, this thing is not over. But I'll tell you what, between now and next Thursday, if you're a baseball fan, don't walk away from your cell phone because it's going to be blipping. There are going to be trades.
Hacksaw, NFL is back. Training camps are open around the league. But the biggest story as we go into training camp is not about any of the 32 teams. It's about the NFLPA. Give us an update on what's happened as this saga continues.
The word of the day is purge. They forced out Lloyd Hewitt, who was the executive director of the Players Association. I think rightfully so. The longer the story has gone, the more evidence we find that he had information about potential collusion that Roger Goodell imposed on the management council to impose on the owners about guaranteed contracts, and that Hewitt had this information and did not tell any of the 32-member executive committee about this. I mean, that's grounds for deportation. And then we find out that there was misappropriation of union funds so he could go to nightclubs and strip bars. And I know you'll tell me the hamburgers at strip bars are pretty good. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of stuff about this guy. Then the guy beneath him, J.C. Treader, a former player who led the search committee to hire Hewitt, he gets held accountable for this mess too. And he didn't know about the collusion information, but he was the point man that hired this guy. He was forced out this week too. So the union's in real disarray. Now they're kind of circling the wagons, Hustler, and they're going to, they say they will have a new leader and a guy who will represent the damn players on every facet, rather than all the secretive information that was taking place in the Hewitt regime. It's a real bad look for the Players Association that they allowed this guy to take over control. And this guy, they had no knowledge of some of the junk he was doing. He was allowed to do it. So union's going to have to regroup here and come up with the right leader.
Hacksaw, as far as the camps go, not a ton of holdouts, but a couple big names. The mess in Cincinnati just seemingly gets worse by the day. And they're all pro defensive end Trey Hendrickson has left the state. And meanwhile, Terry McLaurin, one of my favorite players to watch in the league, is also awaiting a new improved deal right now. What do you make of these contract holdouts, and will these be long? Certainly the one in Cincinnati doesn't seem like it's ending anytime soon.
Well, the history in the league in modern day negotiations, Andrew, is that if you're a star player and you're headed to the final year of your contract, you will negotiate an extension. Whether it's a 2-year extension or a 5-year extension, you will get an extension because nobody wants to play in the final year of their contract without the security of something going forward. And that's a trigger point everywhere. But most of these places, they get this thing solved. But in Hendrickson's case, he's been so mistreated in Cincinnati. The guy's got 35 sacks the last 2 years. He is their defense, grossly underpaid at $15 million. He's outplayed the contract. Final year of the contract, and they stonewall him for the better part of a year. And then finally, it becomes public, and he says, I'm not playing here. I'm not coming to camp. So they sit down and talk. They get this. They offered him this past week. They offered him a 1-year extension. This is your top defensive end, one of the better pass rushers in the league. A 1-year extension for 2026 with no guaranteed money. No bonus, no guaranteed money. You got to be kidding me. How do you do business with a star player like that? And the message they're sending to everybody is that they're operating like this is 1962 and ownership can do anything it wants with its players. So Hendrickson's not in camp. He's getting fined $50,000 a day. He misses a preseason game. It'll be $877,000. Cincinnati has that problem, and they have a problem with the other defensive end, the number 1 pick, who's unsigned. Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M. They drafted him. They're trying to change the structure of contracts with rookies by taking out guaranteed money for the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th year of the contracts. Nobody else is operating under those contracts, but they're trying to change that. He says, I'm not coming to camp either. Cincinnati's a disaster. It's a terrible thing for me to say. I'm a talk show guy. Paul Brown, the legendary owner, founder of the Cleveland Browns and then the Cincinnati Bengals, Hall of Famer. Paul Brown come up out of his grave and fire his son, Mike Brown. The way Mike Brown's operated this has been so distasteful. I feel so bad for Joe Burrow. Some of those guys finally got their money, but at the end of the day, the way they're doing business and the way they're treating the product, the players, that's the most important thing you have in the franchise. The way they're doing is to their stars. I think it's despicable. Where the hell's the union? Stand up for these guys.
They spent the money to keep T. Higgins as per Joe Burrow's request. I think the Bengals, if they're going to be winning football games, if they don't get this done with Hendrickson, they're going to need to put up 45 points to win football games because they're not going to be stopping anyone. But we do know that Joe in that offense is pretty lethal. As messy as it is off the field for the Bengals, it seems like it's messy in the room for the Miami Dolphins. They had 6 months to figure this out, and it doesn't seem like any progress has happened between Tua, Tyreek Hill, and frankly, Tyreek Hill and the rest of the guys in that Dolphin room.
Hey, Mike McDaniels, the coach, is sitting on a TNT thing is about to detonate. I think that this club could implode. They've run off a bunch of players. I don't like their roster right now. Tua, I think, is a quality quarterback. Got to keep him healthy, keep him on the field, but he's become a leader. But at the end of last season, Tyreek Hill had a miserable year last year. Injuries, a surgery, feuded with a lot of people. Then he went public and dropped hints, I want out of here. Then he rescinded that statement. He's done some damage in that locker room. And Tua spoke up this week on Monday. Tua Tagovailoa said that Tyreek Hill's got a lot of bridge repairing he's got to do with his teammates, because he said some things here that really offended a lot of people. And then Tyreek Hill popped off in the middle of the week, said, yeah, I've not been the best person I can be. I'm going to have to work on it. And Tyreek's got great talent, no argument there. But obviously he got injured, and then he's got so much junk off the field with baby mamas and lawsuits and kids. And he had trouble with the law multiple times. He's got to get himself back under control, and he's got to fix the relationship, because I think it's kind of damaged. And Mike McDaniels, he's got a roster full of problems in addition to what's going on in his locker room. So this could really be ugly down in Miami.
Lee, let's head over to the AFC West for a minute. What's the latest on the Raiders now under Pete Carroll with a pretty big move? And what's this bad news that the Chiefs are awaiting?
Well, the bad news in Kansas City, you want to hold on to the table because I'll probably offend you. Why the hell the NFL would allow Rashee Rice to continue to play when he was charged with 8 traffic felonies for this drag racing incident 2 years ago that injured a whole number of people. And he had 8 felonies for speeding with a guy who was drag racing that wrecked 3 other cars. And he and his former teammate walked away from the wreckage, left the cars wrecked on the freeway, and left people laying on the cement injured. He's been sued, and they settled one of the suits out of court, and he's paying all the medical bills. But why is he still in the National Football League when you consider how hideous this crime was? Now, he plea bargained down 8 felonies down to 3. He's getting a 30-day jail sentence plus long probation and fines. Why is he still on the field? I think that there are sanctions coming. And I would assume because of the severity of the injuries to these people and the way that player acted, I think he's going to probably get 2 to 4 games. He should get at least 4 games. So that I think that hammer is going to fall sometime in the next couple of weeks in Cincinnati, because the league's had all this evidence. I should say in Kansas City, the league's had all this evidence for a long period of time. They wanted the legal process to run its course. Now it has. So I think he's going to get popped. The Raiders storyline, this thing with their star defensive tackle, Christian Wilkins, this is really bad. It's a huge setback for Pete Carroll. They released him last night, and they're going to go to court to try to get all their money back. He had a fluke foot injury. It's called a Jones fracture in his foot, and he missed 11 games last season. And he didn't want to have surgery, but he had surgery. Well, then they deemed necessary, because the rehab wasn't going well, that he have a second procedure to solve it, and he refused to have it. And then he started missing all the rehab assignments. And there's video that surfaced of him going to nightclubs dancing, but he's not good enough to earn his money and to play. In Raiders camp, they released him. And there's $35 million in money that's out there that the Raiders want back. And now the union has jumped in and said they're going to file a grievance that he was treated really unfairly. And from the football picture, this is a really fine player, but obviously this guy's priority is a little bit askew. And now Pete Carroll does not have his star defensive tackle, and he had his top 4 defensive linemen are all coming off surgeries, ankles and knees. So I think it's a big blow to the Raiders, and Raiders got a big challenge at the back end because they got to rebuild their linebackers and secondary because they lost so many guys in free agency. So keep an eye on that Raiders story, and this Christian Wilkins thing is not good for the Raiders. And Wilkins evidently is going to New England to take a physical. He may resurface with Mike Vrabel on the Patriots, so keep an eye on his next place of employment. But the way this ended in Vegas, really bad.
Hacksaw, just before we go, lots of new faces at the QB position around the league. What's been catching your eye when it comes to the quarterback position as camps are underway?
Well, they're breathing a bit easier in the New York Jets camp. Justin Fields, of course, went down with a dislocated toe. Luckily, it was not the big toe on his foot. Back on the practice field today, not practicing, just standing around. I think he's probably going to be out at least 2 weeks. Luckily, he did not fracture it, so that would have been catastrophic. Cleveland's got 4 quarterbacks taking snaps, but it's really weird. Shedeur Sanders is not doing really well in their camp, and the Browns are talking. This is absurd, Hustler. Browns are talking about we can carry all 4 quarterbacks on the 53-man roster. I've been in the NFL a long time. I've never, ever seen somebody try to carry 4 quarterbacks on their 53. The kid from Oregon, the other rookie quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, he's playing pretty well. He got Atlanta. Kirk Cousins is really unhappy. He was the backup to Michael Penix, but he's making $37 million this season. You know, if you want out of Atlanta, take a pay cut, give the money back, and see if you can find a job somewhere else. So that's weird. Aaron Rodgers is in Pittsburgh, and he's talking about how good the Steelers are going to be. We're going to have to see how good Pittsburgh can be there. Tennessee, they lost Will Levis, gone for the year. Did not pass his physical. He's got a shoulder joint problem and surgery. That means Cam Ward, it's your team. Your game. Number 1 pick in the draft is going to have to be the starting quarterback in what has really become a long rebuild process there. So a lot of storylines around the league, and the exhibition games start this coming Thursday. You got Detroit, you got the Chargers. Thursday night football, the Hall of Fame game in Canton, and the Hall of Fame ceremonies next Saturday. So a lot of things now as kind of football gets into high gear. We're covering football on the right hand, the left hand got the baseball trading deadline. Straight ahead, we're talking hockey and basketball too. So a lot of stuff this side of the border to cover.
Things are heating up. Check out the website, folks, LeeHacksawHamilton.com, and make sure to head over to the Hacksaw YouTube channel and give him a sub and check out the pod. Lee, have a great weekend, pal. Thanks for doing this as always.
1919 beer to you. Have a great sports weekend, Hustler. Talk to you next Friday.
Good stuff. There's the Hacksaw. Follow him on X as well at Hacksaw1090. All right, marble registration is open. Fire it in the chat. You know how to do it, folks. ! marbles. We'll get to that in just a few minutes. Gold Eyes back at home tonight. It is the Christmas in July game. Always a fun game on the 25th of July. I guess that does make us, 6 months away. The farthest away from Christmas, the day of the year. Fireworks after the game today. Big set for the Fish all weekend long down at Blue Cross Park. 982 base for tickets for the Gold Eyes and goldeyes.com. We're back at it next week, Tuesday and Wednesday at Assiniboia Downs for live racing. And don't forget, the following weekend is the biggest race of the year, the Manitoba Derby, which of course is on the Monday of the August long weekend. Big press conference next week at Assiniboia Downs, and we'll look forward to having Darren on the program to tee it up a little later on next week. AS Downs for more information on everything going on throughout the year and for live racing over to Assiniboia Downs. We do have a quick Breezy Bend golf update for you. And again, great stuff with Braxton Kuntz, the top-ranked amateur from Manitoba, going out to the Canadian Am and just qualifying for the US Am at the Olympic Club. Check that out from yesterday's show if you missed it. Right now at the 3M Open, Thorbjorn Olesen is the leader at 14 under par, 1 shot ahead of Jake Knapp. Our pal Adam Svensson, who had that sizzling 60 yesterday, hasn't had a great start to his round. He's 2 over, but on account of his 11 under yesterday, still at 9 with the back 9 to play. Hopefully the birdie train can get going for Svenny and he can get back up to the top of the leaderboard. Don't forget, Manitoba Open coming up. Just a couple of foursomes left available for the Pro-Am. So go to manitobaopen.com and get it. That's going to be an absolutely incredible day, and everybody in the tournament is going to get a tailor-made spider putter as well. Drinks on the course, 2 meals, play with 2 different pros. It's going to certainly be the best tournament you can get in all year from a golfer perspective if you're not in the Manitoba Open. Again, Breezy Bend and, of course, manitobaopen.com. Can't wait to get out there a little later on this year. All right, get those marble entries in. We'll do the Coolbet lines in a minute. But as we get ready for this big Bomber game tomorrow, the plans are continuing to take our Labor Day trip to the next level with the 1930 crew. Let's bring in my pal Tara Maslowsky for a little bit of an update on how things are coming along for the most fun weekend of the year. Tara, what's up? Great to have you back on the program.
Us, how are you?
I'm great. I'm looking forward to the weekend. I'm looking forward to the Bomber game tomorrow. Hopefully we can get a win in a place that's always been tough. But tell you what, I am sort of counting down the days to getting the band back together for what was such an amazing trip last year. It's bigger and better this year. We've added an extra bus, and now down to the short strokes with just under 10 spots available to join us with the crew.
Yeah, so 36 days to be exact. So just over a month away. We are super excited. Like you said, we're back bigger and better this year. 9 spots left. That's how much we have on the second bus. So we have you coming along again, Darren Bombing from Bonfire, Schnitzy, Jeffrey, Pat, the whole crew's reunited. And we have so many new people joining this year. And it's actually their first time ever to Labor Day, which we're super excited about. I know you can appreciate Labor Day is just such a good time. And to get all the Bomber fans together and to just hang out and party and celebrate such a good time. So we're leaving on August the 30th. We'll send you off with breakfast and some beverages. We'll stop in Brandon again to check in with some other bus tours, and the Bombers have a merch tent and everything set up there. So we have, like you have here, a swag bag. We have some VIP bus hosts, including yourself and Darren. We are going to have a VIP crew event for crew members when we roll in on Saturday. Lots of prize giveaways, autographed memorabilia. We're really, really excited. It includes everything. So we still have double occupancies and quad occupancies left. All that information can be found on our website at the1930crew.com or the 1930 Crew on all social media platforms there. You have the website up there. And it's just a good time. I mean, I remember back in the day, I think my first Labor Day, I was 12 years old. I begged my dad to drive out to Regina. And I'm sure you're probably aware back in the day, the Bombers could hardly ever grab a W out in enemy territory. But regardless, even if they didn't win, it's always just such a good time to just have Bomber fans from all over just party together and cheer loud. And we're counting down the days. We're really excited.
Well, listen, I mean, the weekend is unlike anything else that you'll see really in the Canadian Football League all year long. And as much as we are all rivals on game day with our friends in green, the entire weekend is so much fun just getting, I mean, it's the biggest party on the prairies, really, each and every year. But I will say this, having done tours before, having driven, the way you guys organized this last year was just, I mean, it blew me away, to be honest with you. And I mean, from the breakfast when everybody shows up to the treats on the bus, to all the hospitality that you guys put together. I'll be honest, the other thing is, I don't know how you guys were able to do this, but the location of the hotel, which we're back in, is such a game changer, because I'd been before on some where we're staying like on the outskirts, like out on the Trans-Canada Highway, and, you know, it's just adding cab rides and Ubers, and, you know, we were so central last time. I don't know if I ever took an Uber once throughout the entire thing, and so as I said, it worked out great, and I mean, just such a fun group. There we are at Wayne's World beforehand. And listen, Wayne's World, the most legendary party in the CFL beforehand. It is still so much fun. So I hope people, if they've been thinking about, you know what, I've always wanted to go, this is, we're going to have some newbies. We're going to have a lot of experienced vets. But the one thing I know is we're going to have a hell of a lot of fun for it. So we're under 10 spots right now. And I guess the push is on to fill these last few and confirm everybody in. And then just simply getting the plans ready to get on that bus on Saturday morning of the Labor Day weekend.
Exactly. So Jeffrey and Pat, you know, this was kind of their idea to get a bus tour together, to get all Bomber fans together. And they reached out to me and said, hey, you want to help? And without hesitation, I said, of course. And like you said, we did get really lucky with the hotel location. So it's the DoubleTree by Hilton, which is very central in Regina. And you don't have to worry about anything. Like you said, I don't even remember taking Ubers or anything when we went last year, because you are pretty close to everything and all the parties and stuff. And basically, we're just telling people, like, just show up. We'll take care of everything. We'll tell you where you need to be. We'll organize everything. We were really fortunate last year. The bus pulled up right to Wayne's World, so there wasn't any type of long distance walking or anything like that. And like you said, Wayne's World is just such a good time. I was looking at some memories the other day from last year of me and you belting out Sweet Caroline and everyone's just having a good time. So it's great. And I mean, and you get to see all other Bomber fans that are there. And it is a friendly rivalry. I mean, of course, there's lots of green, but, you know, we invade enemy territory loud and proud, and we are very much looking forward to it. So like you said, 9 spots left. Any questions, please reach out. We're flexible with payment plans, and it's just a good time. We're securing some, again, autographed memorabilia, some giveaways, some adult beverages for those coming aboard. And we're super thankful for you and your support, Huss, and you were great last year and a lot of fun. So we're very much counting down the days for our second trip.
So listen, WSTers, get on this. Join me and the crew for Labor Day at the1930crew.com. But do it fast because we're going to fill this sucker up in the next week or so and want you to join us. And then you've got a month to train and get ready for bringing it with the crew. I'm hoping to recreate my selfie on the way out of the stadium with all the Rider fans looking at me. Yeah, that was some of my finer work, as I said. And it is sure nice to have a team that has actually won this game a few times because, yes, there were many lean years. I think I went 8 straight years losing every single time until the final game in the old stadium. And obviously, we know it. And listen, with where the Riders are, the way they've started, hopefully the Bombers can be there. I mean, huge high leverage games when it comes to the West as well. So we're very excited. Like I said, a couple weeks away, got to pull out some W's ahead of time, but Labor Day is always just such a good experience, win or lose. Obviously getting in the win column is a bonus, getting out of there. And we're hoping you can recreate that picture as well, because that was pretty iconic when we were walking out of there and these Rider fans had no idea what was going on. So we're very much looking forward to it. It is just about go time, folks. So again, if you want to send a message, the 1930 crew on Instagram, on X, the 1930 crew at gmail.com, and the website, the1930crew.com. Tara, have an awesome weekend. Enjoy the game tomorrow. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing you and the crew again in about a month as we go to Experience Regina, as they say. Can't wait. We're counting it down. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks, Huss. Thanks so much. There's Tara Maslowsky, one of the organizers of the crew. And yes, and when you do it, say you want to be on the Huss bus. We'll have some fun, a fun rivalry between Bombing and the Bonfire crew and the WSTers on the Huss bus. So anyways, if you've been thinking about it, you haven't done it before, jump on it, join us. And as I say, the hotel and the location was an absolute game changer last year. And very happy to know that we are doing it again this year. All right, let's get into some marbles. Remo, if you want to wrap that up and grab the list, I will head over and fire up the Coolbet lines. Now, I did just get a text from Jake, who put together an unbelievable Winnipeg parlay. We've got it. This is for the community today in the combo cards right at the top of the page. Gold Eyes to beat the Chicago Dogs tonight at the ballpark. The Sea Bears to beat the Edmonton Stingers at Canada Life Center. And then the Bombers to get the win tomorrow against the Toronto Argonauts. Can we go 3 for 3, people? Let's hope so. Boosted from plus 569 to plus 653 for a Fish win tonight, a Sea Bears win, and a Bombers win. As far as the CFL lines go, pretty steady right now with this Elks Rider game. Now the Fajardo's starting, the lines moved down a little bit from 10. The Riders are now 8.5-point favorites against the Elks. The total is 54. The Bombers holding still as 5-point favorites tomorrow against Toronto. To me, that makes me very nervous. I won't be taking the Bombers on the spread, but the bet I want everybody to be cashing is the Bomber money line, minus 233 favorites to win in Toronto. And it opened at minus 3.5 for BC. It is now 2.5 for the BC Lions against the Ticats. Ticats, if you like the Ticats to win on the road, plus 130, and BC minus 159. As far as the majors tonight, the Blue Jays and Tigers are back at it. And the Jays, a very slight underdog, right around even money. Jays minus 103. The Tigers minus 114. Pitching tonight for the Jays is Jose Barrios and Kiter Montero on the bump for the Detroit Tigers. And we've got the NFL Hall of Fame game already up right now. I mean, I don't know whether we'll be doing too much wagering on the first preseason game of the year when it comes to the NFL, but if you want it, it's up. And of course, all the NFL futures right now, which we're going to be diving into over the course of the next few weeks on some additional content here on the WST channel for WST winners. If you haven't already, get on over to Coolbet. If you're making your first deposit, make sure to use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus up to $200 on that first deposit. All right, Remo, it is marbles time. How are we looking?
Good. I'm just trying to answer a gambling question here from Schickster. I think there's a lot of chatters that maybe needed some explanation on some of the gambling terms. And he says, what's more common bet, money line or the spread? And when would you choose which? I was just typing, if a team is a very heavy favorite, they're not going to, and you want to bet on them, they're not going to pay a lot if you win. So I probably wouldn't bet on a very heavy favorite on the money line, but on the spread, you're getting some points, but you're getting a better payout.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the spread is usually just basically put to try to get even action on both sides. And the odds makers are incredible, I mean, with their accuracy on it. Same thing as like with the total. For instance, the Bomber game tomorrow, the total is 52. And usually it's basically, you could bet either side at the same rate, usually minus 110. But if you have very low odds or a short spread, or you feel like an underdog is going to win outright. Like, for instance, if you like the Riders tonight or the Elks tonight, you think that they can win. If you put $10 on the Elks to win, it'll pay you back 45. Whereas if you put your $10 or $11, as it were, on the Elks plus 8.5 and they win, you're still only getting, the $10 back off your bet. So, yeah, if you have any questions on that, we certainly can do, especially heading into NFL season, maybe a little 411 info spot and take care of a whole bunch of the questions that people may have as we get into to NFL season. Well, that's it. Why don't we fire up a little Tristan Rivers music and get this show on the road? What do you say?
Yeah, I got to pick the theme song here. And we got a lot of marble entries.
Is there an Aussie version?
No Aussie. I've been listening to a lot of Aussie this week. It's been a rough one, man. It hit me harder than I thought it would. Not like, I'm not even the biggest Aussie guy, but I think you got to acknowledge what he and Black Sabbath meant to rock and roll and pop culture, and yeah, doing a lot of reading and remembering. So no Aussie version. What's the closest thing here? I mean, Metallica said without Black Sabbath, there'd be no Metallica. So would that be the closest thing? There's a Pantera version.
Yeah, just something, a heavier rendition.
Sure.
Of the Marbles song from Tristan.
Sure. I don't think I've done the Pantera version too often. We'll rock that one. Here we go.
It's Friday! Another week of work on you deserve a treat still, baby, and I drink to revive the dying. On the whole day, it's a Mexican sky. But you never eat for pleasure. Decided to a Marvel raid. Else to a brain invest to us. Marvel raid. Let Marvel to the box, quick shot. Marvel raid. To the family, it was on the rolling. Marvel raid.
All right, brother.
Yeah.
Let's do a little marbles on a Friday afternoon.
Pantera was at the Aussie tribute show.
They
back
were,
to the,
absolutely.
back to the beginning, and Zach Wilde, who played guitar with Ozzy, is now in Pantera. So that was a fitting. We didn't have any Aussie marble song. Pretty close.
Pantera, next best thing. Keep it heavy for Ozzy.
Although Pantera does do the Dallas Stars goal song, which
I know,
which now is like hated in Winnipeg. I used to love it. Now it just brings back bad memory.
haunted from games 3 and 4 of the playoffs, hearing that thing at the worst possible time. That frickin' Granlund hat trick is still haunting me. How many marbles and where are we going today?
Okay, I got a really good one. Really good one. It's called Unknown Obscured Contraption. And we have 207 marbles in the marble room. So
Beautiful.
shout
Beautiful.
out-
You
shout
got me
out-
in?
No, I don't have you. Shout out to everyone who came out here on a Friday. We've had some slower crowds, but you know what? We had some really good shows this week. If you missed it, Milt Stiegel on Wednesday getting some great comments. Huss, you did a great job. And sort of Milt being honest about his emotions on Friday, but also great CFL talk. And people were asking about Dylan Mitchell. You know, why can't this guy get into the lineup? I thought Milt had a pretty good take saying, they don't think he can do the waggle, but he's not so far in the doggos that they would cut him, because that's what if he was like in the real doggos, they would just get rid of him, right?
I guess. I just don't know whether they feel like they've already sunk the cost into his contract with the signing bonus and they're just keeping him around. I don't want to say to save face, but to, I guess he's there if they need him, but they think they've got other guys that are going to help him win more, which is really surprising, but that is where we're at. And yeah, no Dylan Mitchell. He will be a healthy scratch again tomorrow, and it'll be Cody Case in. And as you mentioned, Ethan Ball, son of the real Ballsy, making his CFL debut tomorrow for the Bombers in Toronto against the Argonauts.
Yeah, very nice. And hey, check out, what was it, Tuesday with Sergio Castillo. What a great conversation.
He was awesome.
What a conversation that was. Great talking with Sergio. So he's had a great season, celebrated 100 games. And so, yeah, some nice shows this week. Hopefully we talk about a Bombers win on Monday, right?
Yes, and maybe a Dylan Sandberg contract as well, counting down to next Wednesday, which is the arbitration date. So, hey, who knows? Did the Jets just announce the Sandberg extension? This was the exact time last week when we got the news about Velarde.
Yeah, people were coming into the show. So coming to the show before we even started, like, okay, Sandberg contract today at 3:30. And yes, we do have the deadline. Was it Wednesday is the hearing? So we think it's going to be before then. Don't do it now, Jets. Just announce it like Monday.
Yeah.
1 o'clock.
Monday, 12:55. How about that?
Yeah. Let people come in here. Maybe that's part of their social media strategy, why they won the Stanley. For great stuff like announcing contracts during our show. I don't know if it's playing into
They got
their
our
decisions.
vote. They definitely got our vote.
Well, they did schedule the Taves press conference for a lunch press conference. Normally, I think you'd schedule a lunch press conference for like noon. So I don't know if they thought we, wanted it to be live on our show or what, but credit to them.
Oh, and by the way, everyone, the ticket, I guess the game tiers or whatever are out right now from the Jets. And I was just talking with the gang. They were actually in Seattle, but going back and forth. And early next week or probably the following week, we'll have a little info on how things are shaping up for WST nights and tickets and games coming up next week. So anyways, stay tuned on all of that. And as soon as we have the information on what we're going to cook up with the Jets to take our WST section to the next level, you'll know it here first on WST.
Next level? It was pretty good last year. And I looked at the game packs. It's tough, man, to pick, you have to do, if you want to do a 6 game, which we did last year, 2 from tier 1, 2 from tier 2, 1 tier 3, 1 tier 4. I'm very torn on the tier 2, even tier 1. Trying to find the right combination where the games are spread out. There's some that I would really like. If you're getting first overall pick on a tier, some that you would like. So I'm curious what we're going to cook up here, especially the March, very busy, and no games in February because of there's one because of the Olympic break. So maybe you do pick the Montreal game on the Feb 4, last one before the break. That's a tier 1 game.
Yeah, that could be one that we do. We'll see anyways. Yeah, in the next couple of weeks, we should have some info for you on the game dates that we're going to be doing. And I think maybe I'm going to push to maybe see if we can get a package for people that want to just commit and get all, 4, 5, 6 games that we're doing for the year. and then an option for people that can't make some of them, but to come like we did last year on a game-by-game basis. Anyways, we'll get to that in the next couple of weeks. Let's do some marbles here and get this show on the road, Remo.
Yeah, so we have 208 marbles. I'm going to pull it up. And this track, yes, unknown, obscured contraption. Really like this track as I open it. We'll see who wins. We had a great race last week. Curious if we're going to have as good of a race. I did test it. Tested well. Nothing crazy happened. So
lots of hype for this track. Lots of hype for this track. All right, let's fire it up.
I don't want to hype it up too much. I'm just trying to talk as I
a lot of talk about getting opening night for a WST night. I will take that into consideration. And against Dallas, opening night, I think that would be a hell of a way to start off the season with the crew.
Opening night for me, more so this year with the banner raising, as Chickser says, got to be there for the banner, the opponent. It is on a Thursday. Opening night's always exciting because it's the kickoff. I do think it helps spread things out.
Taves return to the NHL too?
Taves,
That game's going to be a big deal. I'll lobby for that to be how we kick off the year.
Yes, I had opening night as my draft ticket pack for Tier 1. The second game was a bit tougher. Maybe I am leaning that Montreal game, last one before the break. We'll see. But anyways, let's bring out the thing I've delayed long enough. We know that I could do this forever and just talk. I got a lot of other thoughts we want to discuss.
Just wait till next week when we come back from the weekend. We get a full review of Happy Gilmore 2.
People are asking in chat if we've seen it, so I will have to bring the Happy Gilmore 2. I'll take it.
You're the Sandler guy.
I'm the Sandler guy.
You didn't like it when I besmirched Adam Sandler with some of his other cinematic productions, so I'm hoping that we're getting back to the good stuff with Happy.
I saw Jack and Jill in theaters. I'm gonna own it. But some of his recent movies, I think he's gotten back on track. Maybe some not at his best work. There was a stretch there, and look, he's never gonna be prime, 90s Sandler. He's an older guy. He's a dad now, but he's had some good productions. Debatable.
Lately, that's debatable.
There's been some good productions produced by his production company, Happy Madison. So I'll tune in tonight. I'll have the CFL game on a tablet next to me, keeping track of how Cody Fajardo's doing.
I'm starting off with the Jays at 6 p.m. in Detroit, and then moving on there as well. All right, 208 marbles. Here we are, the unknown, obscured contraption. New track. Looks like it is taking place in the middle of a farmer's field. I'm here for it. So as we go into the weekend, good luck to all. Thanks again to Shipman Associates for providing the WST Marbles Champ hoodies. Good luck to whoever. Well, good luck to all of you, but only one will be the winner. Let's drop the marbles and get this weekend underway.
Drew Doughty says he's a fan that I saw Jack and Jill in theaters. Had some laughs.
Good line. All right, everyone's coming into this big spinning orb. And Jay Vince just got actually top roped. No one seems to be out the proper way into the funnel yet. We're just getting, let's see, Scott Westman, Spency, David Asplin, Manny Fran, all in the mix. Spency, level 1. What is all these level 1 things?
I don't know what that is, actually. It's a good point. Could be new.
Everyone that is getting into level 1. Well, we'll see what that means. Joel Lavoie, Matt Hyman, who won last week. He's in the mix. There's Schickster. Scott Westman seems to be going in the right spot.
Yeah, so that funnel on the right has, I think it takes you back to the beginning if you go that way. So that's
gotcha. So you don't want to take that route.
No.
Lulu M, Spency. I see CFL 60 OG. But Lulu M, I believe, is in first. There's Tristan Rivers Music, who's right up there. Manny Fran is in the mix. Big Uke. Big Uke, we're still waiting. We have great participation from our friends in Edmonton Sports Talk. I don't believe we've had an EST or win yet. One of the nasties. Maybe today will be that day. Manny Fran and Stoop 223 in front right now. There's Dave Asplin, XX Revolution, Evan Hunter, and our old pal the Rat, Brad Marchand. Marchand looking pretty good. All right, now we've got Grand Prix, who has moved ahead, taking a different route onto it, but is now seemingly going backwards, as it were. Mike Weary and Grand Prix at the front. Stoop 223 coming into the mix. We've got two more obstacles here before going up this next tube. He got thrown back. Mike Weary, can he make it through? Yes, Mike did. As did Evan Hunter. Oh, and Stoop with a nice transition. We got a three-way race here. Who will it be? Mike, Evan. At the end, it looks like Mike is going to make it happen. And yes, Mike Weary. I believe that's a first-time winner. Nicely done, Mike. Evan Hunter coming in second. Stoop 223. Lyndon Radichenko. What's up, Lyndon? And Royal Sports Team Sales. Nicely done to one of the folks in the Royal offices today. I'm going to have everybody come in. We will go through the results. So any of you that have head-to-head wagers with friends, like I do, you'll be able to determine who is the winner. It was a pretty cool track. Fire's coming up. Let's see how many people actually are able to finish today and who gets burned. I see there's Tracy. Oh, I just got in. It's not a particularly great finish for yours truly. I wonder if Bozeman is still to come in. That would be nice. And get a win, but I think I was far enough back that it didn't happen. All right, Fire taking out the last few. Mike Wary, 190, is your winner today. Congratulations, Mike. Mike, send us an email, winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com, and let us know what size you are, and I'll holler at you. You can arrange to pop by and pick it up. Look at that. Big Uke in 7th. Isha Boy, 8th. We had Manny Fran in 6th, and then Frosty, Winnipeg, and Spency, the top 10. Let's see. There's Kibbins. Nice one today. 14th. Not bad. Brad Marchand, 15th. As we continue down, we see Elias McCracken and Turt Ferguson in the top 20. There's our guy, Mike Lay, counting to the stars, 23rd. Not bad. Mike Wynn. Lulu M, 25th. I thought Lulu M was right there. Obviously got a little, got hit up at the end and wasn't able to get through as quickly as possible. There's Theo Seegers, I should say, missing Monk. The Derminator. There's D. Chalice, T. Will, Stella, Big Daddy Brent, Dr. Terry. What's up, Ter? Have a great weekend. Shout out to everyone at the St. Vital Dental Center. I was 98th. There's Poopy Pants. There's Wayne Bretsky, Matt Hyman, Rob Pepper, and then everybody else that got whacked and did not finish today's race. I see all caps Kyle in there. Oh, there's Bozeman. I did get the dub this week. Yes. Another one. So actually quite a few did get ripped up. Oh, there's Amanda, 3-time champ. Amanda. Just ask her about it. No, she did not finish as well. Fun race today. Fun show. And yeah, as you mentioned, it was a really good week of shows. So for you golf fans, I definitely recommend checking out the Braxton Kuntz interview after he qualified for the USAM. And we'll be following Braxton next week as he heads out and plays in the Canadian Amateur, finished 3rd there last year. Would love to move a couple spots up on the leaderboard and really have some momentum going into play. One of the most beautiful and best golf courses in the world, the Olympic Club, for the amateur. That is going to do it for us, folks. Have a great weekend. Good sports tonight, Blue Jays, CFL. And then, of course, tomorrow, 6 p.m., kickoff from BMO. Bombers look to get back in the win column against a desperate Toronto Argonauts team. Big thanks to everyone that joined us today. Tara Maslowsky, thanks again to Tara. The 1930 crew. on Twitter, on X, as well as the 1930crew@gmail.com. Would love to have you join us for the Labor Day weekend. Going to be an absolute blast. Thanks to Hacksaw, thanks to Ben Grant, and thanks to Jeff Hamilton. Of course, Michael Remis for making it happen behind the scenes, and all of you for being a part of our day. And of course, to the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Have a great Friday night. Have an awesome weekend. Connor will be live with WST Sunday Live on 9 a.m. on Sunday. And of course, we'll be back on Monday with another edition of The Big Show, Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily, 1 p.m., live on YouTube. You know where to find us. We will see you then, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Oh my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.